Jerry, are you on?
I am. Wait,
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I'm not.
not you and me, Jim.
What?
I mean,
You.
Are you on, Jerry?
I'm on. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can
hear
you
me
hear me
right?
all right?
Oh, yeah, you're good.
Okay. I just want to let you know I have 2 short resolutions to add to your special meeting later on.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Do we know what they are?
Not yet.
I mean, unless it's this one.
I do.
Okay. I was gonna say.
Don't worry about them.
Oh,
Is Jimmy Reed on?
not yet.
No,
Okay.
oh, you want him to do the storm
Yeah, I
update?
tried to call me.
Where's-
I wonder if it
why
has
is
to do
my
with Sharon.
challenge? Oh, that's calculate.
Hmm?
Daughter.
She's in.
Are people in the room? Yes, okay. Yeah, please. Yeah, please. And see if you know who they are.
The other way, okay.
Can you keep us on mute for a second?
Thanks.
Yeah, you can unmute all. Okay, good. Yeah, we just asked the audience to all stay muted until asked to speak or called upon. Thank you.
Okay.
The sound of the barking
Now
dog.
Jim's on.
Okay, we'll call this work session to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
America,
to the republic
Republic
for which it stands, one
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and
Justice
justice
for all.
for all.
Okay, we'll start with our weekly COVID update. Amber and Jim are here.
Okay, yep. It's looking better and better this week. We have 139 cases on the books. That's only an increase of 1 case this week. And the 7-day positivity rate has gone from 12.3% to 8.3%. So that's a 4% drop. And yesterday, the positivity rate was 5.7%. So we're definitely headed in the right direction. And the governor extended the mask mandate until the 10th of February. So it had originally been February 1st, and now it's February 10th. So hopefully,
And also the open meetings with through the Zoom
yes.
for the same extension. Chief, anything on COVID?
No, I think Amber covered those topics.
Okay, then the next thing on the list is the winter storm recap. We had a meeting Saturday, Friday, whenever we had a meeting with all the the town personnel involved and the ferry departments and the school. So Jim, you want to give us a quick update on how we fared?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, Supervisor, we did do our hurricane coastal storm planning group got together. We reviewed our roles and responsibilities for this winter storm, and it was largely as predicted. I think our snow totals probably range anywhere from 15 to 20 inches. And fortunately for us, our power stayed up. I guess my primary thanks, and I'm not trying to diminish the work of anybody else that had to do preparedness work, but really our highway department and Brian Sherman's crew did a spectacular job in keeping everything plowed and cleared and preparing. You know, it was kind of interesting today. I had to call Dave Clark to make sure that the Wage Beach parking lot was plowed. We use that as a landing zone for emergency helicopter transports, and we had one today, and they had that done also without having to be requested. So I really thank the efforts of the highway department, Brian Sherman and Dave Clark as the foreman. And then the second one was PSEG. We've partnered with PSEG over the course of my career and my time as emergency manager. And frankly, PSEG had an excellent crew on the island. They had an emergency service crew here. They had a tree crew, and then they ended up with 4 other trucks, a line crew, and a pole and transformer crew. We had over 6 PSEG trucks standing by in our community for the bulk of the storm. And fortunately, we had no power outages. So it is a request to them. It's a resource that they share with us readily for most of these major winter events and hurricane coastal storm events. So I wanted to thank both PSEG and our highway department. And again, it's not to diminish the work that others have done for prepping for storms. So we have a great support group in our community, and I think it's reflective in the way we handle these events.
Yeah, just a comment, Jim. If you go to the Facebook page for Shelter Island, dozens and dozens and dozens of people commented on the nice work of the highway department. You guys, in terms of setting this up, the Heights highway department as well, their crew, just an awful lot went into it. It was a difficult storm because of the wind. I mean, they were out literally on Saturday morning, going in front of the house by 5 a.m. And because of the nature of that storm and the constant blowing of wind and putting the snow right back on the road, they managed to keep those roads open for emergency vehicles. And the other thing I think we need to praise is the public. When you issue these emergency orders to please stay off the roads for 24 hours, I found out in this storm, maybe because of the severity of the storm, that people adhered to that, which they sometimes don't. And it makes the job of the highway department a lot more difficult. So, you know, these things are for real. So when I don't think the command center here, they use good discretion about when to use these emergencies plans. But when they call for them, they're asking for the cooperation of literally everybody that lives here to please stay off the roads, unless you happen to be a fireman, a nurse, or somebody that has to be at work. But for those people that want to go out and take pictures, you may want to just go out and walk and not bring your vehicles out on the road. It's a big help to the highway department. So thank you for the public.
Okay. Next on the list, I want to introduce Stephen Kiley, our new town attorney. Bob DiStefano has been with us for 4 years through 2 terms, 2 supervisors. The town attorney is a 2-year appointment, and the town board felt it was time that we looked in a different direction with some of the issues coming before us now. So Stephen, I just want to welcome you aboard.
Thank you.
Stephen has a little bit of a history on Shelter Island. His in-laws live here, so he's very familiar with Shelter Island. He's familiar with the whole East End. So Stephen, we look forward to working with you. And Bob, it goes without saying, thank you for everything you've done for us.
Yeah. I think
all the trouble you kept us out of.
I think we reiterate that, Bob. I mean, even the work you've done recently, and it's been amazing. So thank you very, very much. And I think the one thing that stands out is something you said the other day about your love and passion for this island. That it's hard to find that replacement for that passion. And there's no doubt that the DiStefano family has that passion for Shelter Island. It beams through. So thank you.
Okay. Next thing on the list is the I have WMAC future discussion moorings. the WMAC meets next Monday night for their meeting. We're gonna go over this little bit of an agenda for them for that, and then next Tuesday we'll discuss it in depth. The things we have on the list for discussion is the application process for the actual moorings. And we're gonna make a change here. I haven't sat down with Dottie yet, but I will. And this is the process. The town clerk accepts the application. The WMAC clerk handles the application through approval, coordinating hearing dates with the town clerk. The WMAC clerk will maintain the online mooring software, and the town clerk will issue the permit. So we're trying to take a little bit of burden off the town clerk's office, but also make it more efficient as we go through with the applications, so we can get a better feel for where we are. The
Can you
second
step
part,
back a couple steps and say that again?
we're gonna have this discussion next week, Dottie, and I will talk to
Oh,
you
so you're
before it.
putting it out to the public before we even discuss it.
Well, we're gonna do it. I mean, this is what we're doing, so we're going through the process. The town
What am I
clerk has
doing
to,
wrong?
you're not doing anything wrong. It's just that we
Well,
see
then
how
what's the problem?
burdened, well, we see how burdened the town clerk's office is right now.
So give me
and
more help.
We're working on that. And
Yeah, I
we're
know what
also
you're
thinking,
working on. Yeah.
we also think it would be more efficient to have the clerk to the WMAC handle the whole thing instead of going back and forth, back and forth.
What is a waterways clerk?
The Waterways Management Advisory Council clerk.
Well, you got WMAC and waterways on that list. You got 2 items. What is the difference between the 2 of them?
What is the difference? It's the same person, right?
She,
It's the same. I'm not sure what the difference is, but they're gonna handle both.
yeah,
Waterways is just a full
waterways is
statement, and WMAC is short for Waterways Advisory.
So you're trying to take a lot of stuff away that we already do, and everything seems to be working fine.
We're trying to make it more efficient. This is with
Yes, I
town
heard you.
board observations, with input from the WMAC, with some input from the public concerned about the process. We're not trying to take anything,
That's what
any
you're doing.
powers away from anybody. We're trying to make it more efficient
I
for the
don't
public.
want power. I've been doing this for years, you know.
Well, I mean, unless the town board is,
no,
I
Change
wish
it.
you had talked to me before we go public with something like this.
okay. Second
Go
thing
ahead,
we're gonna do
continue.
is, we're gonna refine the actual application. A lot of the problems have been the definition of resident and how we go forward with that. So we're gonna make a point of it that in the application, you must include, if you're an LLC, the organizational documentation and the LLC operating agreement. And this will hopefully solve some of the
I
problems. we
object,
have.
okay?
Definitions of residency. Then we're also going to discuss next week with the waterways at their meeting. We want to know, John, we want to know the total number of moorings that we have right now. We want to know how many people are waiting for moorings, what areas are, are filled to capacity, what areas, should we be trying to send people to? So we just need to have a feel for, is there a need to, are we getting overcrowded with our moorings? So we just need a general discussion on that. The next is, we're also going to talk about, this is a whole new thing, new regulations regard commercial moorings. And this is not something we ever addressed in the past because really there was no reason to. But all of a sudden now we're seeing, major transfers of commercial moorings. The first time there's ever been transfers of moorings. We handled the Ram's Head Inn mooring transfer, and now we'll have the next one with Jack's Marine. So rather than just transfer the moorings to the existing businesses, we need to look at, what we need to do legislation-wise to address potential future problems that, we don't know about. How are we going to regulate these? I think the easy start would be make it a 3-year renewal rather than an automatic renewal. You have to, be reviewed, make sure everything's working right. But that's something we'll discuss. Again, I'm not a boater, so I don't know what issues we'd have to look at commercial mooring wise. But it's obviously it's on the table now. Okay. The next one is, and along with that is, yeah,
You could
you have to
the
come up,
mic.
John.
So at that meeting, the next Monday meeting, could you folks bring to me what kind of complaints you've been getting? 'Cause if we're gonna.
Yeah.
some Criteria for
Right.
examining commercial mooring transfers.
Mhm.
We would like to know what kind of complaints you've been getting.
We can't
Yeah.
hear.
It's not so much for
Bring
the,
the mic down.
for the complaints that with the applications we have right now, John, we're trying to think what issues are there going to be down the road with commercial moorings, you know? Could somebody lease out their sublet their mooring field to one of these online businesses or something? So in other words, we need to, again, I don't know what what's out there technology wise, what the businesses are doing. So we just need to look, now's the time to do it if we're seeing all these major transfers. Let's get it done.
Just a question, John, for the agenda for next Monday night. We have a lot of applications. Do you know how many applications we have?
8, I heard.
We have like 8. So to be honest with you, either one of those two things this is gonna take some time to do. And doing those 8 applications is gonna take time to do. You think so?
If not, we could.
Are we
schedule a
starting,
special
are we
meeting.
starting at 6 o'clock then? Do we have anything behind us that'll interfere if we go over? We don't have any CAC meeting or anybody coming in behind us, right? Okay, all right. As long as, I think you need to just alert the committee, the fact
So
that we have
bring,
8 applications, want to start on time. We'll try to cover those as quickly as possible. And then maybe we give them an outline of what we're going to discuss so that they have a little bit of a heads up on if they have some ideas. They want to work on it over the weekend a little bit, coming up with some ideas. Just give them a little heads up.
Just exactly what you mentioned, thinking ahead about what could somebody lease that out. Those are the kind of things to share with us
Mhm.
so that we can put our minds together.
Right.
Yeah. Well, this is the first discussion, I would say.
And that's why
Not the
we're doing,
last.
yeah.
That
And
we're
that's
talking
why I'm
about.
doing it today, so we
Yeah.
can, you can get in touch with your members during the week and, everybody's gonna be prepared Monday night for a discussion.
Okay.
Okay. Then the next, after the, look at the commercial moorings, we need to look at, the actual mooring fees and see, we've increased, town fees townwide as user fees, rather than using taxpayer dollars where we could. So we need to look at the actual fees that we're charging right now. And then the last one in that category is the, potential moratorium, on applications. If this thing looks like it's going to take a while to do, we have 8 applications before us. We'll address those, but maybe we'll put a hold on future applications till we come up with some decisions how we're going to move forward.
Jerry, maybe we also could add here, in concert with the chief of police, we know that there are moorings that don't get used.
Bay Constable. Yeah.
Bay Constable, but it would be Jim we would be talking to, no?
No.
About that?
No, usually Peter will be.
Oh, okay.
Peter,
All
right.
Yeah.
All right, and because again, if we are starting to get tight on moorings, let's
Right.
make sure those moorings that are issued are used.
So on the
I think
number
town
3, I'll
dock
put
too,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the usage and
Mhm.
enforcement of usage would be a good one.
Yeah.
A good thing to air right now.
With respect to the potential moratorium on applications, if something's just a standard, a straightforward transfer,
Right.
do we
Right.
need to put a moratorium on
No,
those?
I'm just putting it out there as,
Yeah.
if we need to, if we get bogged down.
Right,
Like someone said, well, maybe you'll have a gold rush of applications. If
Yeah.
you're changing things.
yeah,
So let's,
Got it.
that was sort of the reason.
When you say use.
Mike,
DJ, when you mention use
Yeah.
of a mooring,
Yeah.
you have to define use, because I've been listening to, the committee members, and if you go to the WMAC, they'll say use could be someone that uses it for a storm mooring, and they might not be on it until there's a storm.
We need to discuss. that.
So if you don't,
Yeah,
so use is
yeah,
an interesting, that's something that
right. If we have an estimate of how many those are.
is
and
that
if they're
subjective, but
specific-
I mean, at the same time, what are you going to do? You're going to say somebody you can't have a storm
Well,
mooring?
I
Oh,
think,
no, we're not saying.
Well,
I know, I'm just saying, so how do you define use? So I
Well,
think,
that's going to be the discussion.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that's-
So
going
I-
along with that, Bert, is if, you're saying it's a storm mooring, but, what if, if everybody had their third mooring was a storm mooring, we'd have no moorings left for people with boats that need them.
Yeah.
So we have to, figure out,
No
that's
problem.
something we have to discuss. How do we-
Absolutely.
how do
Yeah,
we
you
address
can,
it?
right.
Yeah, and
I
how
think
we
it's-
define it.
Yeah, I think it starts with an inventory.
And also location
First.
is important for storm moorings. There are going to be some locations you would not put a storm warning. Am I right?
So who are you trying to accommodate at that point if it's not for a storm mooring? So you're saying that somebody else might have a greater right to a mooring that it's
Well, I
not a
think
storm
it's-
mooring?
And again, just not to get into the full discussion now, because we are going to try to wait till Monday night. But that being said, I do think that something is in the code that addresses use, having a boat on the mooring, not to have empty moorings. Am I right?
Well, the moorings are supposed
No,
to
I
be
think they
boats.
do that at town dock, you're
The town
supposed to,
dock, for sure,
but,
yeah, yeah.
No,
Uh,
for
you-
private moorings, it says a mooring used for specifically identified vessel owned, leased, or chartered by the person whose name the mooring is registered
I
with.
think in the.
right, so
revocation
right, so you have to have a
section,
boat assigned to it, but
No,
the
there's a
question of, is it on there?
No, I think we can
Well,
revoke it.
and then
if
what-
it's not
okay,
used.
All right, listen,
can
it's
have
So-
fine.
so- so
I don't mind it. I'm
I'm
not
not
saying
saying
that,
it's
I don't
right
have a
either.
problem with
I'm
it.
just saying it needs to be discussed. If we're
Right.
going to look at this
No.
topic, which everybody has their own pet peeve about.
Right.
And how many residents do we have? How many pet peeves is that? But, so we need to then, cover it all, including this. So useful, what you just said. I mean, yes, there are different types of usage
Mhm.
is,
I would think that if you're going to have something like a storm mooring, where it's specifically that mooring is being used that way, you'd want to define that in the code, what a storm mooring is,
Right.
and identify which of the moorings out there are storm.
and they're applied for as such when they're applied for. Okay. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that probably applies more to people that have docks,
Mm,
who would be specifically to it, although there are other people that
Yes.
Yeah.
might be, do you have some people at the yacht club that register their boats, who keep their boats at the yacht club, but they also have a boat registered in their name, and then they bring it back
Right.
to,
So it can be pretty
Right.
extensive is what you sort of mentioned.
so,
We need to discuss
so
it for
that's,
sure.
that's part of it as well.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Good, John? Okay, that is. the
Thank
end.
you.
That is the end for today.
Oh, is there more to discuss about the MAC?
No, that's what I'm saying. That's,
Yeah.
really, it's, I just wanted to get it out there so that you can get the committee and, abreast of all this. The public, knows where we're going, so they can sit in and listen to the meeting if they want, just so we can, rather than bring it all to you Monday night and say, well, we need time to discuss this. That's what I'm trying to think about it. I just want to give you the heads up a week before so we can, have an intelligent discussion next week.
I vote for acceptance. Let me, I just want to say this, and I'm going to be repeating it over and over again. Our committee, I got to give them all the credit in the world because they're terrific and they're knowledgeable. And we work really well together. It's been way over a decade now, this same group. I've been on the committee for over 20 years. And there hasn't been an occasion where we have not been able to accommodate somebody in a timely fashion. And looking back, I've been trying as best I can to keep account, as you're talking about an inventory, on the first of the year or thereabouts. And going back over a decade, the average is around 810 moorings. I wouldn't bet my life on this number. It's a little bit of a moving target because some of them are in the process of being renewed, right? In 2020, the count was 734. In 2021, this count was 735. And this year, the count is 719. So it isn't as like we're running out of room for the applications that are coming before us.
Right.
It would be nice to have that quantified. Wouldn't it? I mean, just to know how. No.
And John, part of the discussion also that brought this up was, with these transfer of commercial moorings, we've heard from the public that, well, maybe there's a need for more private moorings as opposed to all these commercial moorings. That's why I wanted to get a number and a waiting list concept to see, how many people are active.
Yeah.
But we have a
Wait.
grid laid out. This is what I mean. We have a grid laid out. We have empty spaces there, right? We still have availability is what you're saying right now. So I just would like to know what.
We have
you know,
availability only in certain spots.
Right.
We have waiting lists in certain spots. and we have availability in certain spots. And Dottie, when you walk into the office, if we get it, she'll say, Jim, we have availability there. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you have any objection? And we look at the spot, you know, we go with it.
Right, but what I'm trying to get a handle on, and I think this is a valid thing to try to get a handle on, is how many? How many right now, as the grids are laid out, are left? Because I think that's important information. You know, it's sort of like we're on the comprehensive plan. We're trying to figure out what's built out for Shelter Island. Well, this is the same thing. What's the capacity? What's the sustainability?
So we have, I know you don't want to get into a big discussion. We have a number of grids
Yes.
that are specifically allocation of mooring positions. And then we have a number of fields.
Right.
Which are just areas
Right.
that we use as needed basis. So if somebody wants to mooring in Cockles Harbor and we have a field at the town, we call it the stone wall.
Yeah.
We have a field at Burns Road. We have a field at Captain Pod's Landing. You know, they can take their choice of those, which they prefer or which their vessel suits better.
Right.
So it's not going to be.
Precise. I'd say 20%, 25% accuracy. I would go, you know, within a 25% margin of error would still at least give us an idea.
I think you're going to do better than that. I think after you go through this entire process, if you do it correctly, and it may take some time to do, then even when the boats go in the water, you know, in May, June, July, then you turn this over to the Bay Constables to find out, in fact, where there are empty spaces, where there are moorings not being used, where there are slips not being used, where there are slips being used but misused because the person who's registered to have their boat on that slip is not there. They've taken it upon themselves. They haven't used that slip in 2 years, but they've sold that, so to speak,
Subletted.
so subletted it to somebody else. That's the kind of stuff that's unfair to somebody who's on a waiting list, who's been on a waiting list for a good number of years to get on, you know, to Camden Dock.
Mhm.
And somebody else is circumventing that. That's one thing, you know, it's not like we have 100 of them down there. You know, there's a couple of dozen or so, or maybe a little bit more. But when 4 or 5 people do
36.
that, I'm sorry, 36, thanks, Doc.
30, 36, 37.
So, yeah, but if, you know, if there's four, that's, you know, 10% of the people that are misusing that. And there might be a waiting list of 8 or 10 or 12 or more.
Mhm.
So the waiting list is designed to be fair and equitable for the person on the waiting list looking to get in there.
Management issues, in my opinion, is huge.
It is.
There isn't another municipality in New England I can think of that has the number of harbors. We have 3 distinct harbors. Each of those harbors has a distinct character to it,
Right.
which we take into consideration when we get an application. There's no other municipality doing this. And the fact that we haven't had a huge bunch of complaints and that we are able to accommodate them, I want to give credit to our committee
Yes.
Right.
And we do too.
and the town clerk's office.
Yeah.
And likewise, one of the reasons, John, you know, we're putting all this on the table is because we're seeing changes out there. Bert brought up at the meeting Friday that Sag Harbor changed their regulations to go further than the 1,500 feet because the mega yachts were dropping anchor. Now, we're going to start seeing them over here. So, you know, we just want to get this discussion going.
Oh, I'm on board with it. I'm just.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good time of the year to do
Yeah.
it. I mean, you know, we have February, March, April to get this thing done. So, you know, 2 or 3 months. And then May comes and then the boats go on the water. So, or before, we have to get on board with it. This perfect time to get hopping.
Who's going to be the new harbor master?
Sorry?
Who's going to be the new harbor master to manage all of this stuff for you?
Well, I mean,
Dottie, I called
Well-
online mooring. Dottie, I called online mooring today and they said you were it. They said
Well-
you were the new harbor master.
Apparently, we don't do it well.
okay.
So you're going to need somebody
I think
that'll
we need,
go out
Yeah.
there and no
Yeah.
cuts.
no.
Is this
I
open?
mean,
Can I-
You've got a waterways committee that manages the waterways and now you want to take that away from
Really,
them.
the discussion's going to be next week. I'm just trying to set. the
Okay,
date.
well,
I
I
wondered.
want to discuss something that's, you know, pertinent to setting up the discussion. By coincidence, 2 members of the WMAC, their terms expire today.
Oh.
And so you have to decide about the reappointment. And so what I wanted to discuss and what I brought up last week, and BJ said, let's discuss it at a work session, was the fact of some people I called up on the island, they were being charged a mooring, a permit fee by Mike as a contractor.
I think we need that to go here.
I'm sorry?
I don't know. if this is-
Let's get a legal opinion before we go too deep here.
Yeah.
Well, generally on something like that, if he is working on a particular project, he would need to recuse himself from that project. He would not necessarily have to leave the committee.
When you say recuse yourself, it's not just on the vote, it's on the
No, you
discussion.
remove
period.
yourself from the discussion. There's a difference between a recusal and an abstention.
So, so I think it goes beyond that.
I know,
Okay,
Bert,
and let me, Jerry, you're not letting me speak. Jerry, can I speak?
No, because it's on for next week. And
It's not on for next
Listen
week.
to me, Bert. You brought this to us last week. It's the first we heard about this, that Mike takes fees for his applications. We need to discuss it with the WMAC. We need to discuss it with legal counsel. We haven't.
Well, let's discuss it right now.
No,
Well, I'm here. And look, Jerry, you're not letting me say the final.
We understand.
I'm going to speak, Jerry, and you can talk. I'm going to speak.
You're not going to.
I'm going to speak.
This is
I am going to speak, Jerry. I am going to speak.
No.
No, because I'm going to finish what I'm going to have to say about this. Because the guy is advertising to people that he is on the committee. Okay, it's not just that he's saying, it's not just that he's recusing himself. Yes, I do.
Make
I do.
allegations that you say someone
Jerry?
told me. You bring the proof to the town.
You want to make some phone calls?
No.
Why don't you
You're
ask?
making the-
So
you're
you're
making the
defending this guy?
not
Is that what
defending
you're doing?
Bert.
You are,
You're
Jerry.
making an accusation.
I'm
that
not
you need
making
to-
an accusation. I'm telling you what he's doing, what people are telling me he is
What
done.
people
I
are
am not
telling
I am not a client of his, but I've had clients of his tell me that.
So
I have it in a text message on my phone.
So
Okay,
unless-
that somebody put it in
unless
writing to
people
me
that gave
that
you-
he charges for. Well,
Here's-
call him up and ask him. Ask him, bring him in here
Please stop.
and ask him.
Please stop.
Bert, the supervisor
Hold on.
said he's not going to take comment at this point either. Please sit down. or
It's a town board meeting, a work session.
This is unbelievable.
No,
This
it's
is
not.
really unbelievable.
You're being.
No, I'm being unbelievable. You're being unbelievable,
All right,
Jerry.
Bert.
Right?
No, you are.
Right?
You are. You refuse to. This is unbelievable, Jerry. I can't believe that you can't listen
This
to
is
this.
a
That you
town
can't
board
digest
work
it.
session.
You have this guy. Are you going to renew his? Are you going to put him back on the committee
haven't
after
discussed
knowing this? Okay, that's what I wanted to
And
know.
what I
That's what
said
I'm
to
asking you.
Before was, you brought this up to us Friday night, 3 days ago.
Uh-huh.
The first we ever heard of it. We will discuss it. We'll discuss it with the town attorney and we'll discuss it with the WMAC.
Mhm.
Before we do any-
Bert, I could understand if there's.
Listen, let me just.
finish.
Okay.
Let me finish. I just said, you brought it to us on a Friday night.
Yeah.
The supervisor then turned around, called up the chairman of the committee.
Yeah.
We put it on the agenda to look into. Give us a chance to work it through. The fact that we have 2 out of 7 people potentially that are their terms are coming to a conclusion on the WMAC. We don't know it. And I was just about to ask John, do we know who the 2 people are? And
Are they?
do we know if they're interested in coming back and serving?
Oh, you need the mic. John, we used to have, there's so many people on Zoom. We've got 30 people on Zoom, so we.
Just
I'm not
relax.
done.
Just relax.
I'm not
Just-
done.
I-
You're
I-
done. You're
We
done
have
for
to
today.
relax.
I'm not
We
done,
asked
Jerry.
him a
I'm not done.
question.
But he can go
He
in.
needs to
Come
answer
on.
it.
Did you know that he was
Bert.
taking fees for mooring
Bert,
permits?
I don't want to have to do this, but I'll ask the court officer to escort you out. We're done with this conversation.
That's beautiful. Jerry.
And the last thing I'll say is,
Mhm.
anything you said is hearsay. Unless those people come to us and tell us, you can't say, well, Bert says this. so-"
Really, Jerry? Jerry, you want to see it in
No, I don't wanna see
writing?
it. I want to hear it from the.
You want to hear it from these
Discussion
people?
is over.
Really?
Over.
John, could
You had to hear. Why don't you ask Mike? Ask Mike.
We will at the
Ask
WMAC.
him. Ask
That's
him if
why
he
it's
ever
the
does
right-
it.
We
Ask
will
him-
at the WMAC.
Ask him. Okay,
We will.
ask him if he does
This
it.
will be the first
Ask him
time.
if he, ask him if he does
We
it.
will.
Does he want to do it?
We will. We will. We'll ask him at the WMAC. But it's the beginning of a process. Gosh, why all the,
Huh?
why all the anger?
Call Chief Reed now. Have him call me out. I'm going to sit down.
You
And if
can
I
sit
feel like
down.
getting up again, I'm going to say something, Jerry.
No, it's
You know?
not.
You're not.
I can't believe that you would shut me down like that. So here, let me just make the final point. Here it is. You have 700 moorings in this town or more, right? I'm in the business. I've been in the business for 30 something years. All right. I'm not on that committee. I was on it originally. All right. And then what was supposed to happen was they took a few people off because it was a big committee, and they said, we're going to rotate people back on. Right. And a few people got rotated back on, and I never got rotated back on. I guess I didn't play nice, whatever reason. But here's the unfairness of what you guys are perpetuating to me, that you have this guy on the committee who is a contractor, and he has the advantage, supposedly or not, whatever, but the perception is to people in this town that if you want to get a mooring, go see Mike at Jack's Marine because he's on the committee. All right. That's the perception. Okay. And me not being on the committee, that hurts me. Okay. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. And Bert, could you please follow up with an email in terms of detailing what you're trying to say here? I mean, I would appreciate it. Follow up with an email instead of verbal.
Absolutely.
It's like,
I mean, I
well,
don't think
this
it's
is
so
like
difficult to
verbal.
understand what I'm
It's
saying,
not, but it's
right?
at the risk of extending this, which I can feel the heat over here. This is almost slanderous. That would be the case if there was no
Listen.
foundation, but so email the foundation.
I'm not slander.
Well, you're accusing somebody of something that's kind of.
What am I accusing him of?
I just want to have.
I'm saying this is
having-
that's what he's doing. Are you
Can
telling
I-
me that he's not? That's what he was
can I
doing.
talk?
No, you've gone.
So
I
I'm not
talk-
saying it's illegal. I was told that that's good. If you can get the job, good. That's great. You know, it's good business.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it's the perception.
Mhm.
And you have to do, he's representing you, okay, as a town committee. He volunteers his time to a town committee. And then he's accepting a permit fee for putting in a permit that in a committee that he's sitting on. I don't know anything else in the town that you would tolerate that from. If somebody on the CPC was a consultant for trying to
You said
get a
this
piece of
Friday.
land,
You said this
and then they
Friday.
recuse themselves at
Said
the
this-
end, would that be okay?
So Bert,
Yeah.
let the supervisor look into it.
Okay,
All right?
I
Let
appreciate
the
it.
Supervisor
Great.
look into
I think he should.
All right.
And
He's
and
going.
remember, this guy represents you
Yeah.
on the
I got
town,
it.
okay?
I got
So it's a reflection of what you, of the town.
By the way,
general.
2 decades ago, this committee of 7 had on it at one time, Bert, Chip Edwards, John Catula, right? You're all on at the same time. We had three fishermen, shell fishermen on this committee. The 2 people, Chip and John, left voluntarily. I think Bert, when your tenure was up, they asked, they would not renew it. And I don't know what the reason was. I didn't live
Right.
on the island at the time, but it wasn't renewed. That's kind of the history on it. Now, for a guy who's looking to perhaps rejoin a committee and come back, I'm going to say it just once. But do you think a committee of people, if you're going to be reasonable, if you're going to come and be part of a group, yeah, you have to have some framework of cooperation, being able to control your temper, being able to sit down and exchange ideas. When you just stood up in here as the person who's worked with these people, I'll tell you what, 7 people, dedicated, knowledgeable, know these waters. Are there potential conflict of interest with it? Perhaps. You made the supervisor aware of it. He told you, I'm going to personally look into it. And then he's addressed this problem right away. But you've got to know when somebody's working with you, has heard you, and is cooperating, as opposed to you standing there saying, no, I'm going to take over this meeting and I don't give a damn what you say. That's not the way we run town hall. There's got to be some respect. There's got to be mutual respect. Have I gotten back to you on every one of your emails in the last 2 or 3 weeks, everything that you sent me? We've had a good exchange, have we not?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And that's the way it should be. That's exactly the way it should be. But not, you can't have this at town hall. And I'm not looking to fight you or argue with you, but when you sit up there and say, well, I'm not leaving, come on, let's calm down. We're all adults here. We work too hard. And by the way, all of us up here, we work damn hard for this town, and our heart's in the right spot, and we're looking to do the right thing for everybody. And if there's a discrepancy and we're made aware of it, we're damn well going to look into it. And that's why we have town attorneys to help us navigate that. So we've heard your issue. We'll look into it. Thank you.
Okay, so John will, good.
Just wanted to request that we have an attorney present at the WMAC meeting.
Sure.
Yep.
And that attorney if he senses or observes that hearsay is being presented, that be identified as such.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is the assessor's office. We've been talking about what we need to do in the assessor's office. One of the chief assessor or the chairman of the assessors board resigned, so there's an opening there. We're short-staffed. We need to address how we're going to do that going forward. We will discuss that in executive session because it's going to be involved with some negotiations. But we also need to discuss the concept of changing from an elected position to an appointed position. In all of New York State, little over 4% of the towns still have elected assessors. Out of 932 towns, 40 of them have elected assessors. So this is a concept Al Hammond had brought up about 15 years ago that he was the elected assessor, and he felt there was time for the town to appoint an appointed assessor who would serve a 6-year term, who would be qualified from the start. He would have the resume and the background to do the job, as opposed to an elected assessor has to learn the job once they're in. For the most part, it's very rare that you get someone apply for the job that has the background. EJ was one of them that she had to learn after the fact.
Let me add to this too. What has changed, right? We said no to Al, no to Al, no to Al. As a town, we said no. I was on the other side of that argument. But so what's changed that we would say yes now? That, you know, that it should be appointed? Well, the building permits have changed, which we know from the building department. Well, that ties directly into the assessor's job. The more building permits, the more they have to be out in the field, looking at the improvements and trying to gauge their value. I mean, that's just real simple. The administration of exemptions has gotten more complex and more time consuming. So I think what I'm saying is we don't have the luxury anymore of the time that the elected officials used to have to learn the job. That's just, and now the turnover in the last, since Al left, tells us that we have to sort of move away from the office, move away from an office setup that not encourages turnover, but seems to encourage turnover, to a place where we have that, so that we don't get behind on this work because the workflow is that much greater.
And I would say in the discussion we'll have about this, we have 2 very competent assessors right now. And so if we hired an appointed assessor, it's not like, you know, there's the door.
No.
We're going to incorporate, them into the,
Well, the same number of bodies is going to be
Yes.
needed. They're just going to be a hope,
Right.
Different, a different, they're serving under a different tenure.
Mhm.
And maybe more bodies, but I'll just
All
leave
right.
that to the side.
So Bob or Steve, I know I asked you guys to do a little homework on this, on the process of, Steve, you want to walk us through?
Yeah, so
You might have to pull your microphone a little closer.
so there is a statute in the real property tax law that speaks directly to us. It's section 328. It's the option to change to a single appointed assessor. So you as a town board can adopt a local law that you want to make that change. I believe historically in the 70s, there was a big push by the state legislature to have all the towns go appointed. And just like the cannabis law, town boards were able to opt in and keep their elected. And I believe obviously Shelter Island did that. But the state has always frowned upon that. So that's why they gave you this easy mechanism to make the change. So again, it's a local law, and you just have to adopt it. Now, a public hearing would have to occur.
Right.
And the public would have an opportunity to go through the pros and cons. And but at the end of the day, the 2 current assessors, if you do indeed adopt that local law, their terms will expire by December 31st of the year you adopted. So if you adopt it this year,
Mhm.
so that would be
But at that point, we can appoint them as deputies,
correct.
correct? Okay.
Yes, the town board has that inherent authority.
No, BJ, when you say deputies, does that mean, like, you have the prime assessor and then deputies? So
Yeah.
why you're saying appoint them as deputies? I'm just.
Well, because their terms will expire.
Mhm.
So they're assessors, they're certified, so they would be deputy assessors working for the sole appointed assessor, unless, of course, I mean, so, because we have people of experience in the
Mhm.
department, if one of those expresses interest in the job, I mean, it's a natural to put them on the list.
Okay, all right. That's what I was just trying to
yes,
understand.
yes,
It's like,
exactly.
Why are they only in the
It would work
deputy?
pretty much the same as the building department does, now,
Mhm.
where you have the principal building
Mhm, yeah.
inspector. and then you have-
Yes, no, I just was wondering why they were relegated to deputy as opposed to
Right.
being one
I-
of them stepping up to be the prime assessor.
Right, I
Okay.
think well, I don't think legally this has to happen, but I think in a functional way, it has to happen. The single sole assessor needs to be a full-time
Mhm.
position.
Yes.
Yeah, and the deputies don't have to be, in terms of how you operate.
Okay. Bob, any other thoughts we're missing on this?
No, some
Process.
legal things that we should probably go through an executive session.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. And in the meantime, we did approve Al Hammond on a per diem basis to help out,
Did we-
get the assessments done.
Yeah.
For May 1st?
Yeah, until May 1st.
Right.
yeah.
Mhm. Okay.
Just one thing I'd like to add, the person that you would choose for that position has to meet a minimum qualification.
Oh, yeah.
So there's statutory minimum qualifications that you have to go through. So it's not just you can pick anyone off.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
I think that's the advantage of the appointment over the election. It's not a popularity contest. You have to have the qualifications to go with it.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so we're going to talk about that in executive session about compensation. Okay, next on the list is the town code. We had the hearing of the definitions, and we decided to close that hearing because I think we decided that we're going to start from scratch on this. We're gonna get an opinion from our legal counsel. Should we address issues as they come up? Should we try to do what we did and try to attack everything at once? How we're going to go forward? Again, the way this actually started was because of the mooring applications and the definition of resident. And the question came up, what is a resident? So Bob told maybe let's do some of the easy ones. And we didn't get past the first one. So.
Well, the two things you heard on that in regard to that was, trying to be consistent throughout the code. And then I do remember one of the two of you guys saying, maybe it's a good idea you're not consistent because maybe the term resident is different, has a different meaning in different parts of the town code.
Depending on
And you
the-
don't want it to be totally consistent. So that's something, so I with that in mind, I kind of would like to limit it. Rather than take on 100 definitions, right from the get-go, let's identify those that seem to be of greatest concern. Let's start from that and let's just work through it. It'll be an ongoing process.
Maybe we could look at resident in every section. Maybe that's.
Yeah,
a
maybe
place to
that's it.
start,
Well, that's what Bob did. He
Yeah.
broke it all down.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I would like to see that.
But I think what we were saying sometimes, and maybe misdirecting that towards Bob, was that consistent, you don't want the different definitions, and maybe you do. Maybe you have to listen to that. Why, my mind's totally open to it.
Mhm.
Why should there be different definitions? Let's discuss that.
Mhm.
Now, let's do the right thing.
And this will be part of Monday's discussion, I think. Certainly has to do with that. That's where it came from. The applications for the moorings, what makes them a resident. So talk about that too. Okay. Okay, next on the list, Friday night, we had some public hearings and we weren't ready to vote on it. We wanted to have a little more discussion today. So we did schedule a special meeting after the discussion if we want to approve these. So we'll start with Campbell Myers. I don't know which one's Matt.
Billy Larkin. Is it Billy Larkin?
Oh, Matt is,
Bailey?
Ryan
Bailey's
Crabb.
I see it.
Ryan Crabb,
Okay,
Right.
right?
The first one on the list is Campbell Myers, and that's
Yep.
Bailey Larkin. And
Yeah, that's 2 Bay Avenue. And there were there were 5 concerns that they addressed, the gazebo, the pumps, the depth of the pool, the water analysis, and setbacks for the basement area. So those were,
Yes.
yeah, yes.
So I think that's really the only thing left for discussion, I think, that we weren't.
The boathouse?
Yeah.
The
Is
boathouse.
there anything else besides the heater? No, that was the.
No, did we have to discuss just the square footage of what's encroaching?
And
Yeah,
also Howard's also objection to digging a foundation under the porch because of the disruption it may or may not cause. Although I think we can talk about that.
Okay.
yep. Yeah, so it says, however, under number 4, it says, however, despite the foregoing, approximately 110 square feet will be located within the proposed basement within the 75-foot of the bulkhead. That was a concern.
You're not looking at Bob's stuff from today, are you?
No.
No.
No, okay.
No, I have,
Email from.
All right.
That wasn't on the, report.
What exactly would I be sharing?
So-
I have the other 2 from
To
Bob.
talk about the boathouse, it's the ZBA has said, we don't want that in the front yard setbacks.
Right.
And that pushed it into the wetland setback, and I don't want it there. So I think we make a smaller boathouse. That's just as simply as I can put it.
It cannot intrude.
Okay, so Bailey and Rob, you're hearing this. The concern is the ZBA made a recommendation that the boathouse, the footprint of the boathouse come out of the setback. But in order to do that, because they didn't want to issue a variance, to do that, we'd have to put it into the wetland. So I don't think the town board is comfortable. But, I don't know.
To be clear, we did put in our letter of, I believe, November 30th, that we are removing a bit of, quite a bit of hardened structure from within that setback to kind of offset what we are proposing to do. So there is a concrete patio that's being removed as well as a bunch of walkways. And so the net increase in coverage is significantly less than what we're actually asking for just because of that offset. And let me just find that.
Are you able to show a visual on that?
Yep.
Just because I'm looking at the plans that we have printed and it's so hard to see.
Yes, I
also
can
would
share
like
my
to make-
screen if.
Yeah, could you please, Mike?
Sure.
Let me also say that aesthetically, a concrete patio is usually not desirable anymore, and I'm pretty sure maybe it's going to be removed anyway.
It's saying that I'm disabled from screen sharing.
Christina, can you share? She's getting there. Go
Thank
ahead.
you.
That's bad. Thanks,
So there is a concrete walkway that extends from the gazebo down right here. And then it extends over here and then down here. And then there's also a concrete patio that is right here that would also be removed. And so all of that hardened structure would be removed. So with the removal of that, the net area of increase for of hardened structures seaward of the 75-foot setback was only 36 square feet. And we had also offered, so right now there's lawn that extends completely down to the edge of the bulkhead. And we had also proposed to provide initially it was just a 25-foot wide buffer. And since the last meeting that we had, the last work session, we had also provided an additional 500 square feet, which consisted entirely of additional shrubs to the plan. So now in total, the buffer is about 4,800 square feet, 4,800 square feet. And just to
give the board some context. The DEC typically asks that when you are adding structures within their jurisdiction, which this is outside the DEC jurisdiction, but just to give you some idea, they only ask that you replace something in kind up to 2 times the area of the structure that you're proposing. This area is well beyond that. If you're just looking at the 36 square feet of net increase, and even if you're looking at the total area of that's going in of everything that is less than 100 feet from wetlands, we're well over 5 times the area that we're going to be revegetating with native plants to create a buffer on this property. So our thought behind all of this was that at the end of the day, the project as a whole would wind up being better and provide more of an environmental benefit. And all we're really asking for is some additional structure in some places so that our client has a place to store his boat, which he already owns. For the benefit of the board members that did not hear this before, he owns a boat that perfectly fits in this boat shed. It's a Bailey. What's the name of the boat? Do you remember? So
It's a 29.5-foot boat. He's a rower, actually, our client. So I did give the specifications to the board for the specific boat that he has, but the boat's 29.5 feet long, and the shed is proposed at, I believe it's 32 feet long. So we really tried to tighten up the size of the structure. It is 32 feet long, so that it completely contains his boat on site, but is no larger than is required.
I think the concern with the town board is, we're hearing from the CAC, we're hearing from the planning board that, when is enough enough? We're looking at some other proposed additions inside the 75-foot setback that, are instrumental to the actual renovation of the house. So, where do you draw the line? It's, yeah, it'd be nice to have a shed for your skull, but I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I also feel that, Howard brought up this, the disruption of digging under, to put the foundation under the porch. It's sort of, well, if we allow that to go forward, hopefully with minimal disruption and disturbance, that maybe the buffer is helpful in terms of offsetting that, as opposed to this boat shed, which, just how far is the boat shed? I see the square footage offset, but how far is the boat shed actually into the buffer? 8 feet, maybe about 8 feet.
Yeah, maybe about 8 feet.
Yeah, it looks like
That's
that's
about a
about
10-foot difference, and then it's about 2 feet between that and buffer. So, yeah.
Its setback is 68.7 feet from the wetlands. So
You were close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were within inches. We won't hold you to it, but you were
oh yeah, no,
within
I'm
inches.
just.
I've looked at
Know my way around a plan.
Oh yeah, here it is.
Um,
Yeah. To just
Yeah.
so it is it is farther than other structures that are on the property.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Could I just
So,
add
yeah,
something?
yeah. Oh, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
When I look at your architectural plan A010, it shows that there's an existing wall at the west barrier of the overhang of the porch that goes all the way down. That's a crawl space under that porch. That's not a full basement, which would mean you're going to take out quite a bit of excessive 75 footage, as you can see where the 75-foot line goes there across the porch. Have you checked that basement? Because I look at the plan and it says that's an existing wall on A010. Which would be really detrimental to the 75 square feet. And there's a couple of things, other things, but let's get this one settled first, but then I'll bring up the others.
Mike?
Yep, yeah, I'm just looking for the plan. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
So there is an existing wall that's holding up the porch that's there. And
Yeah, but that
I
doesn't
know.
go
I'm just describing it, Howard. I'm.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So there's a wall. So the water is to the bottom of this drawing.
Okay.
So this is the west side, and so it's just inverted. It's flipped. And so this is the wall that's on top of the sunroom. I mean, I'm below the sunroom, and under the proposed conditions, that area would be excavated in order to put the addition on.
Right. So that's additional within the buffer.
It is.
And I
It is
feel-
no closer to the water than what the existing house is. So we are not getting any closer as part of any of the work. And the way that we had read the code, as long as you are not getting any closer, these minor sized additions could be proposed. And that's part of what we were, I guess that's part of what we're discussing here is whether the board accepts that. So there's nothing that precludes us from being able to do that as long as we're not getting any closer to the water, which we are not.
But you're excavating in the 75-foot area about, I don't know, maybe. The problem I have is that your plans, your architectural that we get is half size, so it's very hard to do the scale. You don't have a linear scale on the drawing. You have a 3/16 equals 1 foot, which is difficult to interpret when you're doing a job like this. But it would be about, I think, an additional 200 square foot of 75 in the 75-foot area that you're excavating. Plus, you're going to take down that entire porch in order to excavate it, I think. I don't know how else you would excavate it. You could hand excavate it. Carry it out
The house is
basement.
actually going to be lifted up, Howard. So we're not just to make sure that it is clear. We are not going to be digging any further down than the existing foundation is. So the house has to be lifted up in order to ensure that this can be done. So we would be lifting it up. We've spoken with some contractors about it, and so it's going to be lifted up, and then the excavation would happen underneath the existing footprint of the existing sunroom. So the sunroom is actually going to stay a sunroom, and so.
But my difficulty with the work being done there is that you're excavating in the 75-foot area a lot more than you initially say.
There's an existing foundation wall, which you pointed out on that water side. We're going to be excavating in those two small portions in the corner and digging down within the existing wall. And our plan actually says retain foundation wall along the water side. So it's existing crawl space. And yes, it's going to be dug out some to create basement space, but that foundation wall is there and it's going to stay. We're simply going to add foundation to kind of square off the size of the house. Again, no closer to the water than is existing.
But how do we know that, A, the condition of that foundation wall since it's underground and how far it goes down? Do we know that?
We've had to submit actually to the Zoning Board of Appeals because this is a non-conforming house. We had to submit information from a structural engineer confirming what was going to be retained, what was going to be kept, And the zoning board of appeals put a specific condition on our approval that we're not allowed to do any work beyond the scope of what's in that structural analysis.
Okay, but I don't think,
So what happens, Bailey, if we raise the house and the foundation needs to be replaced?
We'd have to go back to the zoning board and ask for approval.
Right.
at that point, maybe we move out of the area,
I think that was one of the concerns, is that this has happened before, where, that they were gonna work with the existing foundation, and then it turned out the existing foundation wasn't salvageable, so they changed it. So we don't want to have that happen again.
Now, we did have an extensive structural analysis that the zoning board of appeals considered as part of the application when we asked for approval to renovate. It details what walls will be reinforced, what will be retained, and what will be new in the basement. And that was all part of our approval, which I know Bob had specifically listed as a condition of the zoning board of appeals approval.
In order to do this excavation of the basement space behind that remaining foundation wall, like, how are you going to get at it? Like, isn't the work going to have to take place within the 75-foot zone?
Yeah, I would think so.
Well, we have put on our plan a proposed project limiting fencing, which again, we tried to keep as tight as possible directly around the structure. So there will be a little bit of room for, workers in the area. But we did put specifically on our plan a limit of clearing, project limiting fencing, and it's detailed not only on the site plan, but also on the landscape plan as well.
Also, a minimal, the limit of clearing is also based on input from the structural engineer. Because when you do excavation work of any kind, there is a chance that some of the grade will slope back. But thankfully, we do have an existing foundation wall there to help to hold back some of that. So. But it was, we did consult with a structural engineer in order to prepare these plans.
Well, I've been in that basement, and you can't see underneath that deck. So I have to take your word that the structural engineer has signed off with his professional license that this foundation will exist down to the floor of the existing basement. And he said that. Is that what you're saying?
We had a structural engineer consult on this project. He prepared an extensive report that was submitted with the zoning board of appeals. It's a condition of our zoning board of appeals approval that we comply with that plan, or we have to return to them.
Right.
So everything that he detailed in there is what we're intending to do.
All right.
We did certify that report.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, so I take your word for it. That's all I can say. I mean, so I would advise the town to take a look at that through the zoning board, and the zoning board has approved it. That's it.
yeah. What should we, Mike?
Shame, because I certainly think going into the 75-foot setback that much is both the DEC and us, the town code says no construction in that area. And you're
We actually
definitely
have a letter of non-jurisdiction from the DEC. Right. We're not required to get a permit from them.
Yes, that was done
Billy,
by.
Excuse me, Howard. Billy, just so we're all on the same page here. The existing foundation is going to stay, and you're extending it on both sides.
Correct.
You're not going deeper.
They're excavating in the crawl space, but the foundation will remain according to our plans.
Right. Okay.
And we are not going any deeper where the existing foundation is.
Right. That's what I'm asking. Okay.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure. Okay. Michael, did you have something?
I have a couple comments. One is on the outboard condition, basement condition underneath the sunroom. Could you bring that image up again? Okay, so the wall that is closest to the water line,
Mhm.
point to that wall. That
Yep.
is a new wall. Is that correct?
It's
It's
existing.
indicated on your drawing as a new wall because it has a new footing underneath it and it's stippled.
In this case, this is the
A new
retained
wall.
this existing, this wall right here is existing. And then.
So what does it have? A new foundation underneath it?
So the area in this part of the basement is all existing foundation. And then on the this wall, which is the wall that is right at the edge of the sunroom, and the water is this way, that wall will be retained, and then we are just bumping it out in these locations without getting any closer to the wetlands.
Spraying off the house.
So the one comment I would have about this is that the idea that the wall is the end of the disturbance. There is the angle of repose of the soil. There is cribbing to support the house with needle beams. So that operationally, what you're proposing is a significant operation in terms of construction that will go beyond the footprint of the new building in order to accomplish the construction. And that all represents a disturbance to the wetlands buffer. Now, as far as permitting is concerned, the DEC is dealing with permitting, which is within the confines of the wetlands. And then the town is dealing with the 75-foot buffer area, as well as the 25-foot area that is intended to protect the buffer area. So the notion that this has been approved by the DEC doesn't really have any bearing on this, because it's the town's jurisdiction to be guarding the 75-foot buffer area, as well as the intention of the 25-foot area of beyond the buffer is that's where your construction activities are supposed to take place, and the buffer is supposed to remain protected. And I too asked the question, when is enough enough? I mean, I feel the need for the town to look compassionately at situations where, you know, we're trying to accomplish a bedroom or a sleeping room or a kitchen, and as sort of a one-off. But when you look at a house with all of the amenities that is being proposed here, imposing on the environmental buffers, I really resonate with the question, when is enough enough? And when does the town board, as the person granting, or the entity granting the special permit, refer back to the purpose and the letter of the law with regard to these types of applications? And I'm not saying those sort of the one-off incidental intrusion into the wetlands buffer and the regulated area. I'm saying when it's pervasive and large scale in an application like this, when is enough enough?
I'm also going to question the, you know, I'm not an engineer, clearly, but I'm going to question, why would the original builder make a wall deep and, you know, high enough to have a basement and then backfill it for a crawl space? It just doesn't, on the face of it, make sense that you're going to find a wall there that is complete. I mean, I just think, so that to me adds to this disturbance that we're talking about once you get in there. And I know, I heard that you'll have to come back, but then you'll have the hole dug. And, you know, you know, these things sort of pile on each other. So I'm going to say that I'm really not for the excavation under the porch. And I'm, you know, with it, you know, because it's one thing in that 75 to 100. Now we're in the 75. And then I'm really, the boathouse, I just don't see a new construction. Why we should grant that. I don't.
I agree with the new construction, 75 foot. I'm not in
Okay.
favor of that at all.
All right.
I think we've come to agreement of no, Amber.
No, I know. I agree.
I
That's
think-
been
I
my
think-
concern with this project.
Yeah.
It's just
I think that's
drawing the
my
line.
number one concern.
Mhm.
Second concern is the one you just covered.
All right. So what do we do with this porch?
I think we need to, and we have a draft of a resolution, but I just feel like I need more time to just go through it and see what stays and what comes out. I know, Bob, you've kind of put it in place, but I just would feel more comfortable having.
Well, things you're talking
Time.
about weren't conditions, they were
Right.
part of the
The application,
Mhm.
yeah.
Right.
So now you have to highlight. you have to
Right.
take Red circle your concern.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we'll do that.
Yeah, and then my question is, the zoning board pushed the boat shed into the wetlands, but can we pull it out of the wetlands and encroach on the front yard setback instead?
They'd have to
If
go
we don't
back
want to
ZBA.
eliminate,
But the zoning
then it
board
has to go
said
back
no,
to
yeah.
ZBA.
Yeah, they'd have to
So-
go back to ZBA, but ZBA didn't know how we were going to rule on the wetlands, so they
Right.
may reconsider it if we're pushing it out of the wetlands.
Right.
Right. Oh, I didn't realize. that
Because
was-
there were already
Mhm.
encroachments in the front yard setback because this is a small property.
Yep.
With large setbacks. So
And if they pulled it back.
if they pull it
almost-
back into the front yard setback, you can get out of the 75 completely.
Mhm.
Like the original design submitted by, for the sanitary by Maresca shows that boathouse flush with the garage sticking out into the front yard setback to keep it out of the 75, which logically made sense to me. And then, in the revision after the ZBA saw it, then they had it pushed back, which it's actually,
Mhm.
for the ZBA, yes, it makes sense, but for every other committee, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
So, how can we handle that with the ZBA? Because,
Yeah.
you
And
know,
if you
that
pulled it
makes-
back, Meg, it would be flush with the house.
right,
I mean, so in a
Flush with the
way,
back side of the house. and The
House.
ZBA was concerned with it being flush with the front side of the house.
Right.
right,
That was,
the inclusion in the
Mhm.
front yard setback, but the house already
Yeah,
intrudes into the front
right.
yard setback,
That's
and it
what I
would be
mean.
pretty much equal to the
Right.
front of the house.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't
Yeah.
really be another,
It's the lesser of two evils by far.
Yeah.
right,
how long would that take? Does anybody here have an idea in terms of ZBA?
it would take a couple of months, but it is an accessory part of the structure, so
Yeah.
the rest of the work could proceed
oh,
while
okay.
that, I mean,
Well, they
I don't see why
debated
it
the
could.
boathouse.
Yeah.
They can
Well,
amend
it's-
on their own motion.
They can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they would need a
A full-
supermajority, I believe, or a full
Yeah.
vote to reopen the hearing. Because you would need a change of conditions to bring a new application, because basically they set precedent already vis-a-vis that particular application on this property. You can't just go back again and again and again.
Mhm.
So there'll be actually have to be a change of condition, which I don't believe they meet here. But they could petition the ZBA for, as Bob said, for a rehearing
Mhm.
based on this new factor that
Right.
you've decided and you said, no, they can't go in.
Right.
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 Mhm.
Let's go that route.
That's kind of incidental to this whole discussion.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the,
Yeah.
that's the little one.
That is the, yeah.
All right.
So what I'm
Um,
hearing is you don't want the extension of the foundation, any
Mhm.
new extension within the setback.
Yeah.
Or the excavation
Yeah,
of
that's
the
what I mean.
crawl space,
Yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, plus the side extensions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wait, you're saying you don't want the excavation of the crawl space even within
Within the
The
existing
brick-
foundation.
within the existing foundation?
At all?
That's what I'm asking.
Or under the,
I-
or just under that sunroom?
Under the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't there other,
Oh, that's what we're talking about.
Right.
I want to make sure.
can you put the basement back up,
Well, there's-
please? Mike, thank you. What are we losing there?
Yeah, what's the existing condition versus,
Yeah, where is the existing
Proposed.
basement now and versus crawl space? Does that show anywhere?
So this is the existing,
So this is the existing. So this is
That's-
being converted into mostly the mechanical room. And then there's some living space down there as well. So it's mostly the mechanical. So we'd have to probably relay out the entire basement in order to make sure that we could have that, because part of the reason for the mechanical room was to just make sure that we had as many of the mechanicals as we can fit into there as possible, so that we didn't have to have as many outside. We do still have some AC units on the outside, but they are going to be below the required decibel level in order for them to be where they're proposed. But I can't hear anything that the board is saying right now. I don't know if you can hear me.
Is anyone trying to say anything? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Howard. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
I
you.
can hear you
Okay.
both. Maybe if you
good,
stop
okay.
sharing your screen, Mike, just to get us back into the group view, we'll be able to
Sure.
see who's still on the meeting. It looks like maybe the town dropped out and the rest of us are here.
I don't know. We still have the town attorney. Here's the town. Let's see.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can anybody hear us? No. Okay.
Yeah, we've got sound from town hall now.
Oh,
Oh, we just heard you, Matt Sherman.
okay, we heard Matt Sherman.
You hear, does everybody hear us now? Yes, okay.
Yeah, Michael can.
All right, I
All
guess
right.
we're good.
Okay, we're
I don't
back.
know what you did, Christina, but
Yes.
yeah, apparently it's working now.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay.
So, I mean,
All right,
I
so
didn't
where
log
were
out
we?
and log back in. Do I need to, or are we good?
No, we're good.
Okay. we
Yeah.
fixed it? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this is actually the one that we're on. It's just not
Gotcha.
being able to see everybody.
Okay.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, where
uh,
were we?
Michael, no, yeah,
Right.
Oh, right, okay.
we were talking about the basement
Yes.
and I lost Mike. He's not here. Did he just leave?
Oh, maybe he logged out and he's logging back in.
Oh, yeah.
Followed the instructions.
Oh, my.
You see him?
Stress eating?
Oh, no, not that Mike, the
I
Shiano
kind of have.
Oh.
architect or.
Right.
the-
many mics.
Too many months.
I didn't like dissecting them. I was eating.
Yeah, so we're just waiting for Michael Shayano to get back on.
Bill, you can hear us, right?
So he's on now.
I can hear you.
We're just waiting
Okay.
for Michael.
Oh, yeah, here he comes.
Yeah, here he is.
Glad you're back.
Okay.
Hi.
Mike.
I'm
Thank
just
you.
trying to get Bailey back on. Just hold on one second, please.
She's on.
Oh,
She's
she is?
here.
Okay, great.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
So I think you were sharing the screen with us.
Sure.
Yeah, so we're just trying to fully understand the basement situation.
So you'd still have a basement, you'd have some number of feet stopped off a bit. Oh,
Howard's, yeah.
and I don't see. I just think, you bring the basement wall to the 75 foot.
Okay, so in this picture, if I'm reading this
Yeah,
right, so
sorry.
the
Yeah, go ahead.
existing foundation wall is the one that's the farthest on the bottom,
Mhm.
and that is just a crawl space. Then if we go back to that smaller wall, that's where the existing full height basement is?
Yes.
All the way to the front of the building, to the street side?
Not completely. It turns into a crawl space as you get closer to the road. And then this is
Yeah.
underneath the existing garage in the northeast corner of the building, which this spot that's unexcavated is this area of the house.
Okay, so I've done this twice with basements, digging under a house. And to my memory, they kind of like, dig a ramp, really, and then the Bobcat goes down the ramp. I mean, not to be too technical, but so if they did that from the street side, am I correct in saying we could have almost no disturbance sort of outside up on the, on ground level? We could almost do this without, very cleanly is my point.
You'd have to go through the finished part of it.
Well, the question that I have, Mike, is you're raising the house. I don't know if it was Howard or Michael brought up the fact with all the cribbing and, all the.
Yeah, there would
Work
probably
involved
be,
with
because of
raising
the angle of
house.
repose, it would potentially, so that is why we showed the limit of clearing as we did, because we don't think that digging down in the basement at all, even if we were at the 75 foot, the limit of clearing, the limit of disturbance would have to go beyond the 75 foot line, because if you want to excavating or digging out anything, it's possible that some of the grade would fall back in. So
We always have to over.
Yeah.
right, we always have to over clear, correct?
But now going back to the
Wow.
basement drawing, you're gaining some new basement, correct? So there's crawl space on the front side of the house. Is that getting,
Yeah.
is that made it?
Yeah,
full
so
height?
so we would, I believe that this is 11 feet here. Yeah, so sorry. So this wall is more or less the same location as this
Mhm.
wall here. So everything that is on this side of the basement. So these rooms were new, and this part of the cellar would be new space. So if we
What, a
were
dumbwaiter?
not able to do this area, then we'd have to find out another location for the mechanical. So part of it would part of the living space that we're proposing would go away. I'm just being clear in terms of description. I'm not
Mhm.
making an argument one way or the other.
Right. Why is there a dumbwaiter
Some
then?
sort of, sorry, we also would have to have some sort of foundation walls in those corners of the home, because we are proposing space on the first floor of the house as well. So,
Mhm. I'll just go to the first floor plan.
I don't necessarily think the question is whether or not you want excavation underneath the existing foundation in the 75 foot. I think it's whether you want the expansion of the house into the 75 foot period, because you have both corners of the house expanding to square it. So that's new in the 75 foot. So I think that's actually the question, not whether or not they're digging underneath the crawl space. So that's the question that we have to answer. So this shaded area that he has up now,
Right.
the hash mark shaded area, that's the new construction.
Yeah.
That's the new excavation. That's the new
Yeah.
first floor expansion area. That's what we need to talk about, not whether or not
Yes.
they're emptying under the basement.
Yes.
And that portion of the house is a total of 110 square feet.
Yeah.
I mean,
Can I see this entire first floor? Where does that dumbwaiter come up?
Right here.
It's there? Why do you need a dumbwaiter from the basement?
That is going to be habitable space. So it's
Can be what?
It's habitable space in the basement, in that area of the
Yeah.
basement. So it's like a recreation room. I'm trying to find. Oh, right. I have to.
I'm not certain, Jim. I'm not certain about that.
Yeah.
I think we just.
I just,
The new
it
building.
just strikes me as odd.
Vegetative area, that
Oh.
would be a no-go.
Howard, do
Just
you
trying
have
to
the
get a handle on the
CAC report in front of you?
I do, yeah.
Howard?
Well, and I also have their responses to our report, which I'm a little dissatisfied, but what would you like me to read?
Yes, the
No.
responses and.
Okay, that's the word I missed.
Yeah, I have my handwritten copy, which was transcribed on the minutes. Can't find the minutes right.
I have the minutes dated September 13th,
Yes.
2021. Relocate liquid propane tank outside the 100-foot buffer.
Right.
176 square feet building in 75-foot buffer, reduced to code of 100 square feet.
Correct.
Provide automatic pool cover. Reduce pool depth. Submit details of protective fence. Submit site plan prepared by Mike Hosmer to the DEC by current owner or previous owner. Allow entrance into west basement to verify west basement wall is on plan. Eliminate
That's right.
basement for cabana and garage to minimize removal of 25-foot adjacent vegetative buffer and no dewatering.
Right.
Okay, so I guess we're talking about eliminate the basement for cabana and garage?
Well,
Yes.
To point out on the cabana on the garage, we had offered and agreed with the board that we would install a low flow well pump as part of the conditions of any approval that was granted. And in order to do that, we need to have potable water storage tanks. So we are proposing to put potable water storage tanks in the lower level of that cabana area.
right.
I didn't understand that.
So really,
I didn't understand that.
I kind of did. The only thing, so the only question that we're addressing right now from the CAC concerns was the 176 square feet building in the 75-foot buffer reduced to code of 100 square feet. Is that how I'm reading that? That the squaring off the building would have been 176 square feet and their recommendation was
No.
reduce it to 100?
The proposed addition squaring off the building are 110 square feet. 100 square feet would not require a wetlands permit. We could have done it as of right. So we're proposing 110 square feet to square off the building.
So if that's the case, then the CAC wanted you to reduce it to 100. So we're talking 10 square feet as opposed to 176 or 76 square feet. It's a difference of 66 square feet. That the CAC is recommending They wanted them to cut back, but it's really 10 square feet.
And, yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
I mean,
somewhere,
it might have I
we
think
might
it
have to-
increased when the boat shed got pushed back.
Maybe that was
I think the house itself was 110 square feet.
Mhm.
And then when the boat shed got pushed, that additional square footage of the boat shed behind the 75.
Makes it one.
Makes it, yeah. But I think it's just 110 for the existing house. Is that
So if we
correct?
get rid of the
Correct.
boat, then we're
That's
down
right.
to
Yeah,
110.
that's what I understood.
Yeah, this area here and this area here have a total of 120 square feet. Just, and, yeah.
But not all of it is in the,
Right.
yeah, right, okay.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, you know, in this area, a low flow pump is to your own advantage as well.
Oh, yes,
Mhm.
of course. But we just wanted to make sure
I mean-
to note that we,
Yeah.
in order to have the low
Storage
flow
tank for
pump,
that.
right, we have a storage tank, and in order to put the storage tank in a place that
Right.
isn't, we can't have it underground, so we're using the basement that we were already proposing in the garage pool house building as a place for that tank.
Right.
Can we get to some consensus here on direction? You know, what are we allowing? What are we not allowing?
Well, you're allowed 100-foot,
Yeah, and they're at 110?
right, which,
Are we're moving the boathouse back to front?
Yeah, I think the boathouse is a given. That we don't want that in the setback.
Right.
Right.
yeah,
And the foundation is, we're talking 10 square feet.
right.
Okay. Now that we're putting it that way,
Yes,
Right.
I can live with
I
that.
can, I understand.
I think what happened is that we consider the gazebo as part of the 100 square feet allowable. And I think Bob Stefano
Oh.
brought up that you're not allowed to do, they could do it again. And I'm sort of against that each time an owner takes over a building, he can add another 100 square feet. The
Believe that,
gazebo,
well, Howard,
The
I'm sorry.
gazebo pre-existed
Pre-existed the
every.
wetland
Pre-exists, yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't
Yes.
think that, yeah.
but it's 100 square feet allowed by code in the 75 feet.
Not
Code
if it
doesn't-
pre-exists.
That's a question that I think has been debated a number of times. The question of how many 100 square foot disturbances into the wetlands buffer does one property get? In the case of this property, we have the gazebo, the proposed additions being discussed now, as well as an existing sizable intrusion between the two proposed squared off areas. So there's actually 3 instances.
Oh.
And a more important figure to be considering and is the total square foot new and existing. I don't buy into the notion that you get grandfathered every time you dip into the wetlands 100 square feet. That defies functionally, in terms of multiple applications and multiple owners, it defies any sort of reason in terms of the degree to which site disturbances can continue to encroach into the wetlands. And it's a
not every time.
topic that has been discussed back and forth at many
If
boards.
it was built prior to the wetlands code, there was not a disturbance in the sense that it was done for the purposes of the wetlands code. So you're allowed one instance, but one instance since the time that the wetlands code came into being.
So are we clear that both the existing 2-story frame dwelling and the gazebo both predate the near shore overlay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt Sherman had his.
Aerial
Gazebo on
dimensions
certain-
Yeah, if I could jump in real quick on this, we have Mike Shacken's exactly right. We've talked about this exact issue on several different meetings, and it's key to focus on what Bob had just said. The code says you get a one-time up to 100 square foot exemption for new construction for a property. So there's no grandfathering in of anything. There's no multiple bites at the apple. There's none of that. It's, in 1979, I was filleting snapper in that gazebo. So it significantly predates the town wetlands and nearshore overlay. So those codes were come into play long after that gazebo was constructed. So to say that it should have any place in the conversation about what is or isn't allowed as part of that one-time 100 square foot exemption is a little bit of a red herring on that. So, really the gazebo, you should probably, for all intents and purposes, is take it out of the conversation, because it just doesn't play into this.
In fact, if they went and removed the gazebo now, that would count as their one-time.
Yep, that would be new work, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what do we want to do?
I don't want to, I want to stay out. I want to.
Stay out of the discussion.
Yeah. I want to recuse for no reason. No, but it's just the whole idea that all this that's going on between 75 and 100, all this new stuff. I feel like that's enough. When's enough? That's enough. So I mean, I understand that you can do 100 square feet of the basement, right? With no problem, is what we've just established. What is an extra 10 square feet? Not much. I see that. But I also want sort of recognition of the fact that you're doing a lot within that 25-foot area as well. And the boat shed should come out of the wetlands, and not contingent on what the ZBA says. Just no. I mean, you could go to the ZBA. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying if the ZBA comes back and says no, it's no.
Right.
You deny it, they can go back to them, and then the ZBA will have their say.
Right.
Just to
That's where I'm
remind
heading.
you, we had put in a letter in November outlining the additional mitigation that's proposed as part of this application. Currently, the wells located within the 75-foot regulated area is going to be relocated significantly farther from the water. We are abandoning an existing wastewater system that is in the 75-foot setback, and we're proposing a new IA system as far as possible from the water. We're installing appropriate dry wells where there are none currently.
No, I've got, no. Can I interrupt you, Bailey, please? I've made notes on that letter. I did. I made notes on your points. I've got them right here.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying that the wastewater, the IA wastewater, is that not required? The dry wells, are they not required now? The dry wells for the swimming pool? No. Wouldn't you want a pool cover? Let me just say dewatering. You can't dewater anymore. We don't allow that. For everything, it's not the only thing I do see here is the landscaping. Great. I mean, I think that's terrific. But you know what? There's a lot going on in that 75 to 100. Thank you for the landscaping. Because I think the landscaping sort of offsets what goes on in the 75 to 100. That's how I'm viewing it. That's where I'm coming from. And the rest is pretty much you should do or you would want to do or have to do.
Have to do.
Required.
Yeah.
Right.
That's.
We actually, technically, we may not have needed to upgrade the septic system because we did not increase the number of bedrooms in the house as part of this project.
Okay.
Right.
So that was an offer that we had, that was something that we knew that the town would want to do. And actually, when we started this project, I don't believe that it was actually required by the town yet. I know that was well before we put this application to the town board, but we've been at this process for quite some time. We had to go to the board of review with the health department in order to put it as far away from the wetlands as possible, in order to put it where we have proposed it right now. So we've just been at the process for a while.
Do you know the age of the existing septic? The age of the existing septic system?
No, because old.
Probably
Yeah.
1930.
So would that even be like copacetic? I don't think so. I don't know.
But in terms of comparing existing conditions and environmental impact.
Let's
Yeah.
cut to the chase.
All right.
All right, so my observation is we're saying no to the extension of the boathouse
Mhm.
into the restricted area. And we're granting the 10 square feet, so we're allowing the
110, the
Mhm.
expansions on the two
Mhm.
sides.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, because you look at the property, the only actual building envelope they have is the 75 to 100 square foot, once you take all the
Right.
setbacks into account.
Right.
So they're staying within the only
Yes.
possible building envelope they have. And then it's an existing structure and it's that 100 square feet exemption.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Can you edit this resolution or do we need to wait a week?
I think we
I think
to
we
wait
need
a
to
week.
wait.
Yeah.
Could I just add another item? I don't want to, but the test well was done in 2017, which is almost 5 years ago. And I tried to find out if it was done at high tide or low tide, and I couldn't find the record. There's no time of when that test well was done. And I would assume any good engineer would do it at high tide, but that's my assumption. I don't, Matt, what do you feel about that? Is that done at high tide usually? Or do you interpolate from what you do at the time and then add 2 feet to the water level?
No,
Max.
actually, we've got a couple of groundwater monitoring ports for a project right down the road from this, right around the corner on Montclair. And high groundwater is a couple of hours after high tide. There's a little bit of a lag. So typically what we would do is the second of what you said is we try to get the test hole contractor to, at best case, come in about an hour and a half or so, give or take, after high tide. If not, then we would use the test hole information from the site itself in conjunction with test hole information on nearby properties, well information on nearby properties. So a number of different sources of information to compile a best estimate as to what we think the highest probable groundwater elevation would be. So it doesn't really typically come from just one data point. It typically comes from a whole series of different data points.
Well, I'm not sure that was done here. I mean, I know it's a new site plan by a different engineer than you were originally on the site. But what you're saying makes sense to me. It should be at several different points because the bottom of the septic tanks and all of that is way down. It's only like 6 inches clear on the bottom of the tank. I don't know. It's just something that I think, since it was done in 2017 and we're now in 2022, that things have changed in that area quite a bit. You know, as far as
the only thing I would say to your concerns is we're going off the recommendations from the CAC dated September 2021. Now you're adding to that. So I don't know if you're adding to it, or we have nothing from the CAC saying we got their recommendations.
It was something I observed on another site, which Matt is involved in, that they did a test hole, and they actually gave the time of the test hole so we could verify what the high tide would be by interpolation. And it came up after this, and you know, I'm sorry we didn't do it at that time, but we made reference to the plans being very outdated, like even a submission to the DEC was from 2015 by a different owner, the previous owner, and Matt was actually at his plan was sent to the DEC. So there were things going on with this site because it took so long that really complicates what we do on it. So I'm just bringing up as a point.
I understand, and going forward, I think we need to address these issues. But in fairness to this application, we're acting on the recommendations from the CAC dated September 2021.
Correct. And did you read their responses to it?
Yes.
I don't really agree with all of their responses. They say that one that sticks out like is we were wondering about the fencing, the silt fencing, and they say the requirements will be installed in excess of 75 feet from the bulkhead. And now we see the site plan shows it, oh, it's 50 to 60 feet from the bulkhead. So things have changed on this site.
Site plan has not
Howard, if you
changed.
look
since
at
the
it
previous-
logically, you
5 feet.
can't make it 75 feet from the bulkhead because then it's in the middle of the house. So no, Howard, I'm sorry.
I understand what you're
It's
saying.
not logical.
I'm just saying the logic, yes, but in the writing, of course it's illogical, but the answer is,
About pool fencing was the question about pool fencing. We said we would comply with
oh, no, that wasn't.
requirements and pool fencing would be located in excess of 75 feet.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
Oh,
No, yeah, I
okay.
was talking about.
We're ready to close.
Yeah, I think so.
It's already closed.
Okay,
Oh.
so this hearing we did close. We'll revise the resolution and we'll have it ready for Tuesday.
Just that, the only change we're making is that the boathouse has to be moved out of the regulated.
Right.
Mhm.
Yes. And give us a chance to just review what was written. 'Cause I
Do we
did not
wanna
get a
have-
chance to.
Do we not have to know if it's going to the ZBA or we just
It
say?
doesn't matter.
It
It
doesn't
doesn't
matter.
matter. We just say that.
And Bob,
yes.
do we need to put in if the existing foundation is no good, then this is all null
Yeah.
and void, or is that a?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, I
That's
think
gonna be
that's
our
a good
standard
safety.
language.
Right,
right.
Yeah. I think that's-
So we're putting that
Okay.
into graph.
Yeah.
okay, Mike and Bailey, you good with that?
Hopefully in a week.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
Good point, though.
And the next one is the Kohler's wetland application. Jim, you have anything on
Yeah, that was, that dated back to December 13th, right, Howard? We had the,
That's correct. Yeah, there's no problem with Kohler's CAC.
yeah, there was no problem. The only thing that you had put down in your report was that the well water piping system was out of the wetlands area, which
They're doing.
they're doing, and they complied with. There's no issue there.
Yeah, I think, yeah, we had a resolution draft on Friday, and I think one of the things was just a little bit of cleanup. Because we had the public, we had the public hearing on December 3rd, and then it was continued on January 28th. But I guess, Bob, you say we don't have to put in the
The important thing is the
continuation.
notice date.
Okay, all right, and then the existing foundation is proposed to remain, and then we were adding number 4 if it was later determined that the foundation had to be replaced and they had to move it out of the wetlands. So I haven't had a chance to review.
I don't see the
Goes,
foundation.
I think
Did I
that's
miss
what
it?
that is.
No,
Yeah.
that was Graph Ryan. You're
Oh.
you
Yeah.
just mixed the two
Oh, I
applications.
did.
Well,
Oh,
this is the one in
okay, of course.
Westmoreland.
Yeah.
And
Of
it's
course,
up
sorry.
on a bluff.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Overlooking the harbor.
right, and they were gonna remove the gazebo. They're not removing the gazebo now. It's staying the
Sorry.
same.
Right.
Fire pit's not going in. It's just the gazebo. And then really their issue is they want to just fix the deck. The deck is a
Correct.
funky shape and they want to square it off.
Squared off
that's
at the
the
house,
intrusion.
right. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
They're removing the tennis court.
Yes, the tennis
They're-
court's coming out, yep.
But it's becoming a play court.
And
It's
well, they're
reduced.
reducing the tennis court, so you're gonna
Right.
get most of that as green space now.
Yeah.
They're putting
Right.
in an IA system, but all that's happening outside the wetlands.
Yeah.
Right.
So the only,
Closer to the
the only
road.
thing in the wetlands is squaring off the deck.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that is also going to have rainwater collection and run that off to a dry well so that it's not running off the lawn.
Right. Okay, good.
No, not really. No.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
I
Okay.
think
No,
yeah,
we're
it
fine
was
with that.
Just,
And they
The
agreed
only
to put an added vegetative buffer in the corner where there is signs of runoff, so they agreed to that stipulation already.
and wasn't there something also with the square footage? We had the wrong, like, we had the initial square footage and then it was, yeah, that it was edited. So I don't know if it. Oh, okay.
Who is?
Rob.
Rob, you there?
Oh, okay.
I'm here.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, so Dottie had actually sent me the draft resolution and I sent Bob a couple of, I sent her and Bob a couple of emails because I did notice that there was language in the resolution that you would be set to act on that is consistent with the very original application, but does not reflect the correct plan date or the most recently amended scope of work. So I I explained those few revisions and took the liberty of just plugging them into the language and sending them to Bob to review it. I don't know if he's had a chance
You
to.
sent them to Dottie, but it was very shortly before the meeting, so she, I don't know if
Yeah.
she was able.
So just so the board understands, and this also speaks to what Amber just was asking about. The one correction in the square footage, it was the overall square footage of the proposed deck. The square footage within the 25-foot adjacent regulated area was correct. That has never changed. But the overall square footage of that replacement deck should read 971 rather than 1238. The square footage is actually quite a bit smaller than what was originally indicated on the plan. The other item was that the last revision date from the Marshall Pastel Landscape Architecture Site Plan was referenced as October 6th, but it should be referenced as December 9th, because that was the plan that was given to the CAC to review, the December 9th plan, and which was given to the board to review during the second public hearing that was held on January 7th. So that last revision date should read December 9th, 2021, rather than October 6th, 2021. And as I think Amber just mentioned, there's two items from the work scope that should be stricken from the description, and that was the proposed removal of the pre-existing pergola and the proposed installation of a fire pit patio within the 75-foot buffer, because both of those proposals were withdrawn from the application actually prior to the first hearing in December. So those two items should be removed from the description of authorized work, should you approve it. And those two items are, of course, both absent from that revised MPLA site plan. And
So that's
just
the
for,
77 square foot pergola, and what's the other one?
And then
The
the
99
99
square
square foot fire pit right
Okay.
behind.
So we
Right,
could
okay.
still act on
Yeah,
it.
Dottie has all the revisions, so she'll be able to get you. I don't think you got, I'm not sure if you guys have the most recent version.
yeah.
No, but based on on Rob's comments, I've got it. You know, if the corrections are made, we could read it. And
That's
pass
what Bob's
it.
saying, Dottie has.
I think Dottie
Yeah.
has one.
Yeah.
Okay, that's correct.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you read the entire resolution into the record before acting on it, but if you do, Dottie and Bob have a resolution. As I said, I seems everybody's overwhelmed, so I was trying to just help out.
Thank you.
I
Uh,
have Bob's corrected resolution right up to
Okay.
what Rob, okay?
Perfect.
Okay.
Thanks, Dot.
Dottie.
And sorry for
Okay.
all the emails, Dottie. I think I've called
good.
Dottie or emailed Dottie
Yeah,
about
we're-
16
we're good on
times in the
that.
last week.
We work together.
Multiply that by 300. and
So this is another one we closed, then this one we can act on today
Great.
in a
Thank
special
you.
meeting. Thank you. Next is Graf Ryan.
Right to what I said before. Right.
What I
Don't
said.
let me talk so long next time if I'm wrong.
Well, you weren't wrong until you were wrong. So
Never interrupt the deputy.
So we're good with it?
So we have to just review the corrections that needed to be added on it, which was just, I think, the one thing. So,
Which is what?
which is just if it's later determined that the existing foundation
Right.
is not,
We should make that standard.
yeah, we should make it standard.
And then this is the one where you had the air conditioner question.
Yeah.
The CAC wanted to move the air conditioner out of the wetlands
Yes,
area.
yeah, over near the garage or something, or the accessory
Well,
building.
That's part of
Just
the problem.
out of
There's
the
really no
area,
good place to
yeah.
put it. I mean, next to the deck is better than the far side of the house. I think moving it to the front of the house causes more complications because then you have to move all the controls for the IA system, which is, you can do it, but it's more complicated. You also have the waistline going through there.
Right.
And then the other option was putting it on the accessory building and then piping it all the way over to the house,
Right.
which is what, a 70-foot run? I think Matt
Probably.
Sherman's on here.
Yeah,
Probably
70
at least.
feet.
Yeah, so, you know,
Not a good solution.
no, there really is no good solution. I mean, if you had to move it, I would say put it next to the deck in the back. At least then you're almost 75 feet, 73
Right.
feet away.
Yeah.
But I mean, where it sits, Matt, is that Bilko door going or is that staying?
That's staying.
Okay. I mean, it's right next to a Bilko anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not
Mm.
in the ground, it's sitting on the ground. I don't see it as a major concern, but that's just me. Someone else might have.
Mhm. Mhm.
Is it raised at all, off the ground at all?
Just on a pad.
Just
It's,
on a-
yeah, it's just, I think
Concrete
on
pad.
blocks. Yeah.
But I
No
just
history,
asked-
Matt, of the, no history of the wetlands encroaching on the house back there?
No, not that I'm aware of. No.
No, because it is very wet behind the back part of that house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But the
it's
house
just
is at
about
the
as
high
low
part.
slung of
It
a
is,
property.
the house is, yep.
Yeah,
It's not like it's on a cliff though, it's only up a few feet.
right.
Yeah, and,
I
and
was
if it helps the board for being comfortable with it, moving it so it's next to that deck, that does get it to 73. It is a bit shy of the 75, but it is significantly better with respect to that separation distance than it is now. So
Right.
I go
I'd
with
like to
that.
move it. Yep.
Just
I
like,
think that, Pat Howard,
just a small thing, Matt, we agree with your relocation to 73 feet, but the AC unit is going to be increasing quite a bit of size, right? You're adding another second story onto the house. So the footprint would probably be larger.
well, not necessarily. If they go with one of the split units, it would actually, the length would probably be the same, about 2.5 feet or so, but the width would be significantly smaller. So,
Okay, well, it's just something to consider, that it's going to get change in size, but
yeah. And to one of the comments the board had about having it next to that deck, I don't know if you've had the chance to listen to some of these new split units that are out, but they are whisper quiet. So
good.
while, right next to the deck isn't the best thing, but it's, unless you're trying to meditate next to this thing, it wouldn't be a problem at all.
Well, the point of meditation is you can ignore this.
You see how much meditation I do. So
Yeah.
All right. So,
All right, so the current resolution that I'm looking at,
Mhm.
so right now it says the air conditioning unit shall be moved outside the 100-foot buffer. So we need to fix that wording?
Yes.
shall be moved next to the deck at
Next to the
70.
deck,
Adjacent to
That's
the deck.
adjacent.
Yeah.
adjacent to the deck, at a distance of approximately 73 feet.
Right.
Mhm.
So one of
And
just-
I had dated that revised plan showing it next to the deck with a revision date of February 1, if you want to reference
Okay.
that, so you know exactly which plan we're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
And then we have the basement issue, right? It's not an issue. It's just the wording that we would like in there.
It's now in there.
Oh, it
You're
is?
talking-
Where is
You're
it?
talking about the foundation?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought I already put
Is
that one in this one.
number, hold on a second.
14.
14,
Okay,
thank
yeah, I
you.
was gonna say it was further down.
Okay.
Yeah.
It should be moved to a conforming location. Isn't it, they have to come back? Or would it,
Well, it says it should be removed to a conforming location. If they want to put it back in the wetlands, they have to come back.
Right.
okay. All right.
Although would they need, but then there'd be demolition, so then do they need to come back because it's wetlands demolition?
Yes.
Okay, so they'd have to come back in any event then.
Right.
Did you want to add, because I know originally when you had talked about this, the foundation needs to be replaced, it should be removed to a conforming location and the basement should meet code. Is that something that you wanted to add if you do a new one? Because right now, the existing, there's a question with the existing and depth to groundwater and code is different than the existing. So if they were
Well,
to
if they're
do a
rebuilding,
new,
they need to put it
they
in
have
code
to,
anyway.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so then that's fine. Doesn't need it.
That's good. Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We can.
okay.
PJ's
So
got
we-
the like slight amendment.
Yeah, I do. I have. Where do I go
Make
with
sure
that?
the
We're gonna
resolution
get
is
the resolutions. out.
what we just said, and we can act on that one also. Okay, the last one we have still open is the Weber mooring application. This is the Winthrop Road application. And I think the concern was
Oh, I see what I'm-
the definition again, residency.
Right.
And
I'm for tabling this until we have a little bit of clarity. But that's,
But the way I understood it, the application for the mooring is the same name / LLC as as the house.
we have not been able yet to search to see how many moorings are associated with that house and or that LLC. And I think that's something we need to do. What do you guys think? I mean, I just, because.
Let's just hear from the town clerk. Dottie, on the Weber mooring application, did we talk about that? Are they within the number of moorings based on the number of
You
properties?
and I, yes, you and I have talked about that many times.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I thought.
And when that application came in, we went to our file and checked, there are no other files for that name, okay?
Correct.
So that's the application you gotta work on, not something that might come down the road. Okay?
Right, so even if she owns 2 lots next to each other, this is the one we're talking about because it's the name in the LLC and it's the same one for the mooring.
Yeah, private moorings for each one of those.
Right.
Because she couldn't go over 3, because that's what's in the code.
Mhm.
But she would be able to get 2. She would be able to get 3, really, but not more than 3.
This Jones too. Yeah, but which one?
Winter.
Jones
But
two?
we do not have files on anything more than that, just that one with that name and that LLC on it.
So is this her riparian mooring on this new purchase?
She
This is what
has
we're-
boat specific on there, I believe. So then it doesn't have to be riparian. She could put it in as a private mooring.
Right.
It doesn't say you have to have a
It was made
riparian
for
mooring.
riparian. Yeah, but it's on the application as riparian. So there's another reason why it's actually okay.
Doable.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Right.
Okay,
and she's eligible to do it one way, but she doesn't have to do it that way.
right.
Right,
Right.
right. But it also, gives us more of a
So we're doing
foundation.
that
Right.
as repairing.
Yes.
Do we have that one ready to do, Dot?
Many times.
Okay.
Okay.
You want that one today, though?
If you don't have it, we can do it next week rather than rush it at this point.
Christina, do you remember when that application was submitted?
Okay,
When the
that's the
application was
last thing on the
submitted?
agenda.
Yeah.
Let's go to, before we go to the special meeting to act on these, we'll go around the table.
What,
Jay?
reports
Yeah.
before the special meeting? All right. Just to bring up again that we were going to look at the Board of Ethics, and it doesn't say anything about them being from parties. I'm just saying I printed it out,
No.
the code.
Right.
No,
And, it could be anybody
Just 3,
three,
yeah.
just has to be one of the 3 has to be a town employee, either elected or not. I mean, it doesn't matter, right? So, we probably should put that on a future
Yeah.
date to reappoint.
Yep.
And I think we should.
you don't have to
maybe-
reappoint those, only if you want to.
Oh, right. That's actually the wrong word, not reappoint, but maybe reconstruct.
Okay,
You know what I mean? Yeah.
okay.
So I think maybe the discussion has to be of how we want to do that.
We'll put that on in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Next week, we're doing
Bare bones
WMAC.
statute as well.
It is very bare bones.
They want to expand on it.
Well, if you guys, while we're thinking about it and talking about it, want to look at it, that would be great. I just said it came to our knowledge. I don't know, maybe Dottie, this is one of those resolutions you have about the collection of the renewal fees for moorings. Do you
I
have
have
that
it.
in your?
Well,
That it was changed at the beginning of January so that the company that does the mooring software is now collecting them? Is that what I hear?
Yeah, but we didn't do a resolution on it. That's just a policy type process.
It's just a
Okay.
what?
Just a working,
I thought the town board had to, I thought the town board had to approve the fact that some other organization was collecting money for us.
I don't have a resolution on that. I was never told to do it.
No, I just didn't know. I know you said
Yeah.
at the beginning, I'm sorry, just that you said at the beginning of the meeting that you had a couple of
Okay.
That's
well,
not
I
one
was
of them. That's
told-
fine.
I was told that probably next month we will be getting stuff from January. Okay? There's a lag in there, right?
Yeah.
So let's just.
But I was just
monitor that,
wondering.
Make sure, see
So
what
don't we have to
happens.
authorize this company to collect fees on our behalf?
Hold on, I can
That's my
find out.
question. Yeah, thank you. Because I know that with Anne Marie, when she went online with the payments, we had a resolution back then. I just think if someone else is handling town monies, do we have to sort of say that's okay?
The beach sticker.
The beach sticker, yeah, I think there was a resolution there. So I'm just kind of throwing it out there. Yeah, oh no, and then I have a couple of things for executive session. Okay. So that was a question.
So who's doing the?
Okay, I just got
online
it. I just got the information.
Yes.
Starting next month, we will see the results of that. So we will be getting the renewal fees starting next month. The way they
Okay,
have
do
it.
we have to approve them though, to say, oh, it's all right with the town board that Online Mooring Incorporated collects these on our behalf?
I don't believe the town board cares who we collect them from.
What is the contract say?
What is the oh, we'd have to look at the contract. I don't know.
Contract could speak to that, and then when you issue the resolution authorized and the supervisor sign it, then. you're
Then it
okay.
was good to go. Okay, so that's it, Dottie. We'll have to see the original contract to make sure that it's copacetic that they're collecting on our behalf. That's all. It's
Generally, they'll
just
do
a
it on-
technicality.
That we will find out in a few
Resolution
weeks.
Authorize the supervisor to sign the contract on behalf of the town.
Yeah.
So you guys, at this point, you probably just want to do it to a ratification. vote.
Okay,
I think we want to look at it first.
yeah,
Okay, what else you got, BJ?
that's it.
Okay. Amber?
Community Housing Award. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna wait for the minutes on that because
Okay.
there was so much on the agenda to start to pick and choose on the fly here.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'll wait till
Yeah.
next week.
That's it?
Mhm.
Jim?
We got an application from Dan Clark, the CAC. He's got a nice background in terms of landscaping and being an certified arborist. And could be a nice fit for the CAC. So maybe we need to take a look at him.
Are we interviewing him on Thursday?
Yes, we are. We've done, he's on
Okay.
our interview
Yes.
list.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Last Friday, there was a program hosted by the Health and Wellness Alliance and the Shelter Island Library. It was held at 7 o'clock on Zoom. Had a lot of people from town that got on it. It was entitled Resiliency, a Work in Progress. This was a webinar event which featured a panel of 5 Shelter Islanders, each of whom had wrestled with traumatic challenges and prevailed. Lucille, our town social worker, acted as the person that oversaw the program and the host of the program. I would like to take my hat off. I went home and watched it. It has been recorded. You can go on to the Shelter Island Library and you can get a chance to see it. These 5 people, one person was a direct descendant of the Holocaust, and it was very powerful. Another resident was a victim in the North Tower 9/11. Another resident was growing up in a drug and alcohol family. Another resident was domestic violence, and another resident was a lady that was born with polio back in the time and lived her life overcoming polio and all the things that she went through. I would like to take my hat off to Nancy Butts, Ed Brennan, Steve Sachs, Reggie Johnson, and Ann Danforth for volunteering to sit on the panel. You guys were excellent. I urge everybody out there, if you have some time, to get on the library site. It'll be posted on their YouTube and take a look at it. It's tremendous. I really was taken back by the stories and just how deeply these people were committed to overcoming those issues. Last thing was, and I'll go through it very quickly, we had a meeting this morning for the Capital Planning Grants Committee. We went over the old business, we went over the feasibility studies. There hasn't been a lot done up at the Heights Treatment Plant, but we did have a very interesting Zoom meeting on Thursday, January 20th with Stella, Steve from Cameron Engineering, Mark from Cameron Engineering, Jack from Cameron, and Enrico from CTUC. And also Joe and I were on the meeting. It was well worth it. We spent some time, probably the first 20 minutes, reviewing what has been done and what's transpired from 2018 forward with this project. Get a lot of interest from a lot of people about, we posed the problem of the new requirement for the new study by the Suffolk County Department of Health for the $65,000 water modeling study. They seemed to be very interested in that. So I provided the committee this morning with the background. There's tremendous knowledge, there's tremendous appreciation in wastewater treatment plants and also in the area of water. And I actually, we made some good headway. So we're waiting to see back from them on any feedback we might have up from their interest. Fresh Pond study, we have not got the hard copy yet. It should be in a matter of, keep saying that, in a matter of a couple of weeks. There's a couple of options available with Fresh Pond that we know about. The three things that we'll be looking at from that feasibility study is permitting, cost, and solution alternatives. So that will be coming, and that will be something which is discussed again with the public and with the Fresh Pond Neighbors Association and Joe as well. On the municipal wastewater treatment feasibility study, I put a description for the committee in a nice paragraph. It will be available as soon as I post the minutes, probably within a day or so on our website. It gives a description. And then we sought community feedback during the months of from mid-December through January, and God knows we got enough of them. Got quite a few. The number one observation you can make is that people were very, very positive about this project. And most everyone acknowledges the need to reduce the nitrate problem in the center of town. The biggest obstacle clearly is where we locate the treatment and disposal and recharge site. Some of those concerns involve the use of CPS properties for this purpose. Some of them involve concerns directed at environmental issues. Some of those concerns were, I like the project, but not in my backyard, which you're going to get with every project. Another thing was the cost of pumping it to the airport. Another one was about future expansions and what that might mean in terms of that term expansions, when you're talking about putting more people on the system or whether you were trying to accommodate more environmentally friendly things that you could treat through this treatment process. The good news is that we've listened to all those concerns, and moving forward, we're looking at alternate sites. Supervisor spending a great deal of his time with Joe Fenora and a bunch of other people in town looking at those sites. We're trying to find a solution that meets, I don't know if you could say everybody's needs, but a vast majority of the needs of this community. And, when the study was done, the one thing that Joe pointed out this morning, which makes a lot of sense to me, is that when Lombardo did this, they did it as an engineering firm, trying to find out the best engineering solution. And as Joe pointed out, sometimes that comes in contrast with social impacts and environmental impacts and other things, other people's concerns. So that's what we're weighing through right now. So during the three phases of this, the engineering report presentation to the public, that was supposed to be from December through the end of January, and now we're at February 1st. So we're extending that time into February. We think that it's going to take us most of the month of February to solidify that, maybe come up with an alternate site or recommendation. And then the design for the recommended alternative will probably be during the months of March, April, and perhaps slightly into May. And construction of this project is not really going up until spring of 2023. It's scheduled to be constructed between March 2023 and October 2023. The last feasibility study was on Real Point. 11-day dredging period occurred. They removed 7,500 cubic yards of sand from the channel located on the spine. Want to congratulate the Suffolk County Public Works Department. They do an excellent job. The 3 guys that were out there working during those 11 days, the conditions weren't the best, and they persevered and they did a magnificent job. Haven't been out there since the nor'easter this past weekend, so hopefully it didn't negatively impact it too much. We're still waiting on a final vote from the U.S. Senate to approve the funds for the Army Corps study. Next thing down was the Crescent Beach bathroom. Trailer has been ordered, is in production. Both Brian and Matt Sherman have been working with the DEC. We're still putting out concrete bidding for the slab, for the pavilion, and for the trailer itself. Still waiting to get back some of that. We did submit to the DEC the comments and updated our plans for that. And we are trying to meet the goals of the MWBE requirement, which is part of that grant application, which says that 30% of that grant funding has to go into supporting the MWBE effort. Multi-year capital plan will continue to work on. The recycling roof is done. The last 2 things that have to be done, the installation of the gutters, which will be done, and the final paving, which will be done in the spring. The community center across the street, excuse me.
I think, didn't they update that we can put a solar on those?
Okay, yeah, they did. Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
we
So that's a big plus. We can look into that for grant opportunities there. Thank you for bringing that up, Supervisor. Shelter Island Community Center, still awaiting a bid for the concrete. Getting bids back in a timely fashion since COVID has been a difficult process, so we're still waiting on that. Under new business, West Neck Water Infrastructure. So I had sent an email to Jennifer. Jennifer is our grants writer on January 18th, 2022, asking her, quote, is there any possibility the town of Shelter Island might be eligible for any funding regarding the upgrading of the infrastructure, estimated $1.7 million for our West Neck Water District, which is being managed by the Suffolk County Water Authority. The supervisor asked me to do that, did it that day. This has come up in conversation with the public and with the customers that utilize West Neck Water. If there are any possibilities for any amount of funding over a period of time, please let me know. Jennifer wrote back to me the next day on the 19th. Hi, Jimmy. Yes, Suffolk County Water Authority is well-versed in applying for the WIIA program. That's the Wastewater Infrastructure Improvement Act, which supports drinking water projects, among other project types. The program provides 60% funding as noted. We could set up a call between Suffolk County Water Authority to discuss the info that would be needed to apply for the next funding round. The deadline has not yet been established, but we think it's somewhere around July or earlier. Since they are managing the district, they are likely to have engineers on staff that can pull together the technical information that would be required. So therefore, this morning we set up a communication between Joe, Amber, and Jen to check that out with Suffolk County Water Authority, in particular, Joe Perconi, is that right? Perconi? Okay, Perconi. All right, and they will carry that forward. So that's good news. We also have found out that other communities, I just got off, I didn't really get on the phone. I had a message from Lori Beard Raymond, who worked for West Neck Water for a decade or more, about a project that was granted down in Southampton. So that has been a successful thing. The last thing we talked about were some other things was Barbara Bloom working with ADA, kind of upping our ante for the next grant writing for the ADA so that we can think much larger than we have been. Brian and Bo will be working with Jen on closing the gap on the food scraps grant submitted for reimbursement. Brian is still working with the state on working on getting additional monies that we had and additional monies beyond that for Ram Island Road elevation. And we also got some good news from the Department of Transportation concerning senior center buses and the fact that, and I'll read it. This was from Sarah Monday at the senior center. This is going to be a major help for our senior services. We will be able to pay a driver for these specific services and will help keep availability open for more drivers for medical appointments. So that will be big for us. Suffolk County Office of Aging on Thursday regarding the specifics of shopping program funding being offered. They will give us all the parameters. I can send my first final draft off. So we are in the process, folks, of trying to secure more money for our senior center to help in terms of driving for grocery shopping and shopping in general for our senior centers, both here on the island and off the island. And that basically is the end of the report. Thank you very, very
Great.
much.
Thanks, Jim. Meg?
So pretty much just comprehensive plan is what I've got to update. We sent out a draft vision statement to everyone on the advisory committee. So they're going to look it over and get back to us with feedback. And hopefully we'll have something pretty final by the next meeting, which is February 28th. And we'll have it posted to the website prior to the meeting so everyone can look it over. The other thing we're working on is an outline for the comprehensive plan, which will also be going out to the comprehensive plan advisory committee for review. Will also be posted on the website prior to our meeting.
Outline on what?
The comprehensive plan itself, like the
Okay.
basic structure of the
Yep.
thing. And then we're also doing some SharePoint trainings with the group, just so we can all get on the same page and be utilizing the same tools effectively.
Literally.
And literally.
Same page.
Same page. So, so far, so good. I'll keep you
And
posted.
thank you, Christina and Coco, for
Yes, Christina and Coco.
making that happen.
Okay. Bob, anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Anybody in the audience?
Actually, I've got
Matt?
something real quick, if you don't mind. Not to put something back on your plate that's already overflowing, but something that came to mind with the Myers Wetlands and ZBA application. Years ago, we used to be able to apply to the ZBA and the town board at the same time, so that the overall review took parallel paths, rather than having the ZBA approve a plan, have a modification that then goes to the town board and the town board doesn't accept. So if we were doing them at the same time, as an applicant, we'd be able to make some adjustments and hopefully come to a common ground between the applicant, the town board, and the ZBA. It's just something to keep in mind, that if, adjusting the way that we can run these applications through the process could help facilitate a more efficient meeting of the minds or compromise on some of these projects. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does happen, it can create a significant issue for the, for either one of the boards or for the property owner.
Matt, do you know why that changed? I'm sorry. Do you know why that changed? Why we're not doing it that way?
I'm not sure why. I don't know.
I was wondering whether or not it had to do with, like, when the ZBA is looking at things and then there's modifications that get brought back to ZBA to kind of meet the needs in the direction that they're going in, then trying to coordinate that through the town board. That's my understanding from just hearing things historically.
Would a pre-application meeting? between
That
the
might be a
two?
better, yes.
Either way to go.
Yeah.
I just want to chime in. Section 129, 5.2 says, to the extent possible, this process shall occur simultaneously with any zoning review by the Zoning Board of Appeals. So this is in the Wetlands chapter. So it's already in there codified. Right. It says the maximum extent possible, but it should be reviewed concurrently, because you don't want to get handcuffed either way.
Yeah.
But obviously, one body has to make a decision before the other.
Yeah.
So I think the town board should determine what the priority is. Is it the environment, or is it the zoning code that should take precedent? So
I think a pre-application meeting would probably be the way to go with this, so that we can get on the same page.
How about this as a thought? Let the ZBA go to the certain point, but then they don't finalize their decision. Then it comes to us with what they're proposing to be their final decision. Then we would have had an opportunity to say, no, not like push that back. And then the ZBA could pick it back up and say, we'll do this, or we're not giving on this, and then we would be able
So
to
their
say.
hearing stays open? Is that how that
Yes.
technically?
Yeah,
Maybe
is?
they
that's-
would do it at a work session,
Oh, work
probably, right?
Well, so you would have the application formally filed and then they would take testimony, say in the zoning board, and it would indeed be adjourned. And other municipalities do it that way, where they'll say, all right, we'll adjourn this and we'll wait to see what happens at the other board, then make a final decision.
That's a matter of establishing
Right, yeah.
the
procedure.
workflow, how we
Yeah.
want this to
Yeah.
proceed.
Yeah.
The major part about all this is that you guys will end up at least working off the same set of plans. which
Right.
Always happen.
Yeah, I think that was the concern in years past, and that's why it changed. At least that's my understanding in talking to the ZBA and planning board, just.
Is that
you know.
Christina is the ZBA clerk?
Christina is the, yeah,
go.
right now she is.
Yeah.
Yeah, acting.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Noted, Matt.
Thanks, Matt.
Just some food for thought. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Pam has your hand up?
Hi, everyone. I just want to go back to that Myers application, and I'm just going to read this one thing from the town code where it says at 129-3 Part H, the wetlands permit exemption for new construction less than or equal to 100 square feet is exempt of new accumulated construction totaling 100 square feet or less. This Myers application is clearly doing more than just 100 square feet or less of any kind of new construction. And therefore, I don't know that they should get the exemption of that 100 square feet. It's
Got two lawyers
all
here.
new accumulated construction totaling 100 square feet or less. The house is being built more than 100 square feet larger than what this is. So this exemption shouldn't even apply. And again, we're talking about doing excavation and construction in the 75-foot vegetative buffer. And I don't care if the other project's only 2 feet into that buffer. Again, you're going to take an inch and they're going to take a mile. I'm very concerned about this. I think it needs to be reviewed once again, because that's how I read this statute in the code, that this exemption doesn't apply. They're doing much more than 100 square feet of new construction.
Either one of you want to chime in?
I'm just trying to find it.
Yeah, I'm looking up the code. I'm
Yeah.
a visual
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, I see the section.
129-2?
So can you just restate what your position is? Are you saying that the new construction can only be limited, the structure itself can only be limited to 100 square feet?
I'm saying that the exemption only applies if the construction is 100 square feet or less.
In the area.
Right, so that's why they had to come to us.
Mhm.
Because it was greater than 100 square feet. If it had been less, then there was no permit required.
Yeah, that's the purpose of the wetlands permit.
Right.
Yeah, so if they had reduced it to less than 100, that wouldn't have been on the table.
I don't think you're looking at that. I don't think the town board is looking at that as an exemption. They're looking at it as an allegory of,
It's a trigger.
Right.
that they could have put in 100 square feet here.
Yeah, because if you look at the chart, it goes into new construction less than or equal to 100 square feet. So within the vegetative buffer, no permits required. Within adjacent vegetative buffer, no permits required. So you wouldn't necessarily have a permit, and that's why they're here.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we approved 10 square feet, right?
110 square feet.
Right.
But I mean,
It's hitting the trigger.
Yeah.
Because it was
Yeah.
over 100 square feet. It triggers the fact that now you need the wetlands permit, you need the review.
right.
So that's the purpose of that part of code.
And you're looking at that code to weigh.
Right.
10, like, it's only 10 feet from that exception because they wouldn't
Yeah.
need to be here at all, but it's only 10 feet. They're asking for 100, you look at 100, oh, that's double.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So.
Okay. Anybody
But
else?
they're asking for 110 square feet addition. The total is 110 square feet addition of the problems going into this vegetative buffer. And so they're not, I don't see how they're able to get the exemption because the total is over 100 square feet.
Not being,
You're not
It's
getting
not
it.
an
It's not an
exemption.
exemption.
it's being approved.
They're getting a wetlands permit.
it's why they're here. It's not that it's not allowed. It's just that you have to come to us in order to be allowed to do that. Like,
Okay, I'm just trying to say the exemption of that 100 square feet that you seem to say that Ms. Bailey said it was 110 square feet, and you said, well, we'll give them the exemption of 100 square feet. I don't think that they're entitled to that according to that statute. It doesn't read that way to me.
Okay,
Okay.
so noted. Thanks, Pam. Anybody else?
Yeah, this is Mike Anglin. I would like to say a few words about being thrown under the bus earlier in this meeting. First of all, I no longer own Jack's Marine, so I'm not the guy that is putting these moorings in. I am a person that does apply for a person's permit as any other contractor applies for a customer. And yes, I do charge for that. And one of the advantages that I explained to the person that I'm applying for is that I do know what the board is asking for. So there's not a lag time and there's not permits being sent back and forth for insufficient qualifications. It's the only thing that I do for these people. And as I said, I no longer have the dog in this fight. But if that's something that is objectionable to the town board, then tell me so, and I won't apply for any more permits on other people's behalf. But I do recuse myself when I do when this is voted on. And that's really all I have to say. If anyone has a question, I'd be more than happy to address it.
Mike, I mean, this came up Friday night. It was, new to us. We said we would research it. I spoke to John Needham, and we said we'd talk about it at the WMAC, which we will do.
thinking about reconstituting the ethics committee. This might be a good one, because
Yeah.
it's, actual conflict of interest versus perceived conflict of interest. And so what would be their take on that?
Yeah, in other municipalities, the board, they're a resource, right? Issues come up and then you present it to them and they'll go like this, or they'll say it's no good. So there's a definition of conflicts of interest and there's standards of behavior for town employees that they have to adhere to. And so this could be a great test case for the reinvigorated board.
And Mike, in our discussions, in the past, not just, our discussion, but going back a ways, there's always been the concern or the perception of, conflict of interest. And we always try to point out that, the Waterways Management Advisory Council is made up of the people with the most knowledge of the waters of Shelter Island. And, you weigh everything out and, we never had a real definition that there was a conflict. There is always a perception on Shelter Island of conflicts, but we are very aware of the knowledge in that group and what you do with it.
Yeah, I think that group is a pretty well balanced bunch of individuals. Everyone has their own expertise and their own way of looking at things, and it's always seems to be able to come to a consensus and a vote, yay or nay, and we move on with life. But you have other contractors that are on other committees on the island, and I don't see that they have a problem either. So if there's any other questions, I'd be more than happy to address them. But if not, then Monday night, I guess we'll talk about it.
The Monday, we got a full agenda, Mike. Yep.
I'm sure we do.
Steve?
Yeah, so if you go further into the ethics section, section 8.6 is powers. The Board of Ethics established hereunder shall render advisory opinions. The town employees on written request and upon request of the town board make recommendations to such town board As to any amendments of this chapter, the opinions of the Board of Ethics shall be advisory and confidential, and no event shall identify, and shall, in no event shall the identity of the town employee be disclosed. So the cow's already out of the barn on this one. But an employee, the definition of an employee includes
Committees.
Mr. Antler. So, and then, having this independent body weigh in on a deliberative matter and really look into it and then issue an opinion, that would carry a lot of weight in the community.
Right.
And so I think it can, put this issue to bed once and for all. So I think it's something that you should really consider.
Yeah.
And take the board out of it. So you don't
Yes.
have, the public airing of grievances.
Right.
Anybody else? Julia?
Hey, it's Julia. I just had a question. Maybe it's because I listened to Jim Colligan twice today. Is the board backing away from its original plan at Cliniwickus?
No, the board is looking at all its options. That was the option that was, Joe keeps saying we have, good, better, best. And the recommendation was that was the best. Now we're just looking at what all our options are before we go to the next phase of the project.
Okay, thank you.
I have nothing, Jerry. Thank you.
Okay, Julie, thank you. Okay, we're gonna make a motion to go into a special meeting. Sorry, do we need to sign something or?
Want me to go?
Yeah. And we're gonna act on, we have resolutions.
Yeah, we'll let her give us the
Yeah.
resolutions. BJ gets draft Ryan.
Okay, do I have to read the whole thing?
No, what we normally do is like highlights.
Okay.
So,
So where we made a change?
well, you know what? That's gonna be after Colas Wetland. So like one of the three of us can do Colas Wetland. You can kind of see.
Okay.
like, what parts we
Think we have to
pull
vote
and
on the
not.
motion?
That's what we're waiting for.
Does everybody approve on a waiver?
Oh, yeah, we need the waiver.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. you wanna
Does
grab the
everybody
waiver
approve on
sheet?
going into a special meeting?
Exactly.
What's the
Is there a
waiver?
way to make Dottie's volume louder from your end, Christine, or she has to do it from her computer?
You can't hear me
But
loud?
then everybody's gonna be loud.
Not so well.
Yeah, we're having difficulty. I think a couple times you might have gotten cut off just because your
you go.
volume was coming in so quietly.
Do we have to vote to go into special meeting?
That's what we're doing. It's a
Yes.
waiver we have to sign.
Oh,
You
really?
have to actually
That's a
sign it.
waiver.
Yeah, because
Oh.
it's a special meeting. There wasn't advanced, it was on the organizational
Okay.
calendar notice.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a formality, as long as we all agree.
Yeah.
I don't think that works.
Oh, does this work?
Yes.
If I do this? Oh. Oh, wait. I'm so glad I tested.
Just presume hot mic.
A waiver?
So you do approve the waiver, right?
Right.
Wait, what?
You do
I
approve the
don't
waiver,
physically
right?
have the waiver.
You don't
can't talk at the
physically
same
have the waiver. You do so virtually approving to go into a special meeting without signing a waiver.
Okay,
Oh, got it.
okay.
Like we always do.
Make a motion that we go into a special meeting without signing the waiver.
Okay.
Okay,
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
that's what you need.
Got it.
Which, what do we got? We should have Colas, we should
Just
have
throw a pen at you.
Ryan, We should have,
Where do you want to start?
We're getting there.
what, Dottie?
Where do you want to start?
Amble Myers. No?
No, that one's off.
Oh, that one's out.
All right,
Colas.
so you have Ryan, because you've got the
Yeah.
wording.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Colas. Jimmy has Colas resolution.
Okay.
Colas is first.
Where does that stop?
This is. Be it further resolved.
Why is there, why does she ended 7 and there are 17 points?
Uh-oh.
Say it again.
I
Jimmy,
just
you
got
can read
handed
that.
I just got handed the resolution.
Wait,
Did it get?
for which
cut off?
one? Maybe Jim has the rest
Jim might
of
have
it.
the second half.
You have, 0.8910.
For who?
It's graph.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's 6.
We're gonna do colas first. That's what's first, right?
Yeah, all right, so this is.
I mean, I have them here, with no changes. I mean, from the.
No, there's nothing
working
written on
copy
it.
we
It's
have,
just
but
what
can I
Rob
use-
Herman sent and what Bob sent to me to approve the colas. So take
right,
the
so you
one that
do-
comes from an email about colas and read that one. And anybody can tell whether everything has
Bob.
been updated or not, okay?
And then Dottie, I have Christina's appointment, correct?
Yes, you do.
I can read that one. Okay.
So we're not reading Rob Herman's. We have one from you?
Well, that's
Oh,
what they're
no.
gonna do now.
Rob is mine. He just had.
Oh, okay.
a couple of
Yeah.
All right,
changes.
so we have to
one.
read this one.
Check them all.
You find it, BJ?
I think I did. I have a second page from Bob earlier, and I have your first page from now. That's on Graph Ryan. But Colas
We're
is
not
gonna go
doing Graph
first.
Ryan now.
We're not doing Graph Ryan?
Yes, we are.
Well, not until you do.
Myers
you-
is the one we're
you
not
say
doing.
you're
We're
gonna
not
do
doing
Colas.
Myers.
We're not doing Myers. That's the other one we're
Right.
doing, Graph Ryan.
Colas is second on the
Graph
list.
Ryan down
Let's
here?
get-
Yeah, Colas is now first because we're not doing Myers.
Do you want me to
you
start
got
with
it.
Colas?
You got it.
Right, we want you
Do
to
you
start
wanna-
with the Colas.
Do you want a second to sort of figure out, like, are you reading the entire thing or just
No,
picking
we
and
should- we
choosing?
know.
I got to read the
Do
entire
you have
thing,
the
I guess.
corrections? Oh, he has Rob. Okay.
He has the latest one.
Okay, all right, so he's gonna
The
just.
December 9th date is correct, though, right? The last revised? yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Whereas applicants Valimir and Jessica Colas proposes work partially within the 25-foot adjacent regulated area at 8 Westmoreland, Shelter Island, New York, and Zone 2A, residential nearshore and peninsula overlay, and bearing SCTM number 0700/18/01/22, the premises. And whereas the proposed project entails replacing existing 846 square feet of wood deck and steps with 971 square foot of raised wood deck and steps, and located partially within the regulated area, 252 square feet within the 25-foot adjacent regulated area. And whereas the proposed construction includes the following additional work as at least partially within the 25-foot adjacent regulated area. Install approximately 115 square feet of stepping stone adjacent to the constructed deck within 25 foot of the adjacent regulated area, and remove 84 square feet of playground equipment from the 25-foot adjacent regulated area. And whereas any further work is proposed in conforming locations as per site plan by Marshall Purcell Landscape Architects dated August 2nd, 2021, and last revised on December 9th, 2021. And whereas the application was referred to the Planning Board and Conservation Advisory Council for recommendations, and recommendations have been submitted and considered. And whereas the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation has issued a letter of no jurisdiction on or application number 1/4732-00205/404 dated September 3rd, 2020. And whereas the board considered the proposed action at a public hearing pursuant to notice on December 3rd, 2021, and on January 7th, 2022. Whereas this board now wishes to render a decision on the wetlands application, now therefore be it resolved that this board hereby establishes itself as the lead agency pursuant to SEQA and finds that this type 2 action which will not result in significant adverse impact on the environment, and be further resolved that the town board makes the following findings as to the application. Number 1, this board hereby adopts the findings of the Planning Board and Conservation Advisory Council. And be it further resolved that the wetlands permit for the above described work to be conducted at the premises is hereby granted, subject to the following conditions. 1, all construction shall proceed as depicted on the site plan by Marshall Petzel, a landscape architect, dated August 2nd, 2021, and last revised on December 9th, 2021. And 2, construction proceeds and erosion controls include the anchored installation and maintenance of silt fences during all stages of construction shall be required and be designed to prevent any runoff from disturbed ground into the wetlands area. And 3, soil disturbance should be minimized where possible. And 4, additional plantings covering at least 150 square feet using plans from the listed approved by the Conservation Advisory Council shall be added per planning board recommendations. And 5, a new nitrogen reducing septic system shall be installed outside the wetlands buffer. And 6, the construction site must be clean of all trash and debris on an ongoing basis with a minimum of once per week. 7, all construction materials and equipment shall be staged outside the regulated area. And then it should be, I guess, 8. Numbers are quick. Parking of all construction and delivery vehicles shall be on the premises to the extent reasonably possible. And then I'll say 9, no public street or public or private right-of-way may be obstructed or impaired during during construction. And 10, application must be repair any damage to any adjacent public road or street caused by construction vehicles to the satisfaction of the town highway superintendent, excuse me. And 10, the project manager shall post a sign on the site with his cell phone number and shall address in a timely fashion neighbor concerns regarding litter control, parking, noise, road conditions, and other impacts caused by the project. And 12, noise controls shall be pursuant to the town code. 13, application shall be installed dark sky compliant lighting pursuant to town code in all outdoor lighting on this project. 14, the location of the mitigation measures shall be examined by the building department prior to the start of work and periodically thereafter. And 15, this permit should only be valid for construction commencing within 2 years of the date of this approval. And 16, the building inspector may halt construction for any violation of these restrictions or of unified code, and be it further resolved that copies of this approval shall be on file with the building inspector. So moved.
Supervisor Silla, second, and votes aye. Councilman Clark Williams.
Aye.
Councilman Ian
Aye.
Councilman Lawson.
Aye.
So moved.
Okay, we ready?
Thank you all.
Whereas,
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
you're welcome, Rob. Whereas applicants Nathan Graff and Marissa Ryan propose major renovation and reconfiguration of the first floor and a new full second floor addition within vegetative buffer and adjacent regulated areas at 12 Petticoat Lane, Shelter Island, New York, and zone to A residential and bearing SCTM number 0700/22/01/21, parens, the premises, close parens, and whereas the proposed first floor layout includes a larger master bedroom with bathroom and closets, plus a powder room and an open kitchen, dining area, and a great room. And whereas the proposed second floor layout includes 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a hallway, and an office. And whereas a nitrogen reducing septic system has already been installed, whereas any further work is proposed in conforming locations as per site plan submitted by Sherman Engineering and Consulting PA dated December 15th, 2020, and last revised February 1st, 2022. I'm just going to make a note of that. February 1st, 2022. And whereas the application was referred to the Planning Board and Conservation Advisory Council for recommendations, and recommendations have been submitted and considered. And whereas the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation has issued permit number 1-47320-01090/00002 dated April 14th, 2021. And whereas the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation has issued a modified permit numbered 1-4372-0109/0002 dated August 4th, 2021. And whereas this board considered the proposed action at public hearing pursuant to notice on December 3rd, 2021. And whereas this board now wishes to render a decision on this wetlands application, therefore be it resolved that this board hereby establish itself as a lead agency pursuant to SECRA and finds that this type 2 action, which will not result in a significant adverse impact on the environment. And be it further resolved that the town board makes the following findings to the application. We have then 17 findings that will be on file with the town clerk, with the exception and change to item number 3. The air conditioning unit shall be moved adjacent to the deck per the February 1st, 2022 plan revisions. Be it further resolved that the copies of this approval shall be filed with the building inspector. So moved.
Supervisor Zilla, seconds and votes aye. Councilman Brock Williams.
Aye.
Councilman Lawson.
Aye.
Councilman Colligan.
Aye.
So moved.
And then I have an appointment. Be it resolved that Christina Magisova is hereby appointed to serve as follows: Town Board Administrator for $22,500 per year, Media Department for $15,000 per year, Supervisor Administrative Assistant for $22,500 per year, Attorney Legal Aid for $10,000 per year, WMAC Clerk for $4,000 per year, Waterways for $6,000 per year, CPF Clerk for $4,000 per year. So moved.
Supervisor Zilla, seconds and votes aye. Councilman Ianfola.
Aye.
Councilman Lawson.
Aye.
Councilman Colligan.
Aye.
So moved.
I still have a question on the description for waterways. What does that mean? Okay.
Water
We
advisory.
have Waterways Management Advisory Council
And water.
and we have Water Advisory. No,
Yeah,
Water
what's the
Advisory Council.
difference? That
And
was my
waterways
question
can-
before and didn't get an answer, okay?
Bob, is there, I mean, they're the same thing, I think.
There's no difference between Waterways Committee and Waterways Management Advisory Committee. You're referring to the same thing with a different name.
Correct.
The Water
Are you
Advisory.
talking
Committee
about
is-
Waterways Committee of the Town Board?
No, she's going to be WAC and WMAC.
Right.
No.
So Dottie, it's really one committee is what we're saying. We have,
Oh.
we have it named two
WMAC is one
things.
committee, WMAC is another committee. So, but we don't have.
Who are the
this
members
question-
of the two? Are the members
It's
the
not
same?
water- It's not Water Advisory
No,
Committee. This-
absolutely not.
We have Waterways and Water Management Advisory Council. That's the
Okay.
question, and
Water
they're the same.
advisor is like,
The
Wait, let Dottie explain.
WAC.
Who are the members of the committees if they're two separate committees?
well, like WMAC is the one with John Needham, right?
Yes.
Correct.
He's been there today talking and everything. The other
Right.
one is the one that, the Waterways, WAC, is the one with the fresh water with the guy from.
No,
Hay
that's
Beach who heads
Water
it.
Advisory Council.
Mhm.
That's different.
That's groundwater and
Yeah.
Your
right.
question was WMAC and Waterways. And we're saying
know.
Waterways is the same as WMAC.
Not.
Well, then you're
The
gonna pay
waterways
it
is
twice,
Colligan and I,
right.
just the two of us.
but
Yeah.
you don't get
It's
paid
not
for
a
that
committee.
because you're.
Not really. I
Right.
don't really know.
Right, so we have to
Yeah.
redefine it for the budget.
To be honest with you, I never held,
For a budget
we
line.
never
Hang on, I'm
met.
looking.
Christina, were you supposed to be
50
WAC as well?
57.
That's a
No.
different, that's completely different.
No, I know. I'm just asking.
Yeah. It's 5710 is the code.
Greg Toner's the one that leads the WAC.
Right,
Yes.
That's all right.
that's a
Peter
completely
Grant.
different, that's fresh water.
And that's Peter.
I
Grant.
know.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know if we need waterways.
I never, we've never met in my 6 years on that. Ever. Doesn't exist.
All right, so we just have to make sure the budget lines.
Yeah, I'm just looking. to
We
see.
should probably
Okay.
abolish it.
All right, we'll address, we'll look into it. Figure it out. Not gonna figure it out.
Mhm, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else before we go into executive session?
So you've already
Did we vote
voted
on
on it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
We did, okay.
The end of
All
that
right, I make a
story.
motion, we go into executive session to
Second.
discuss litigation and interviews.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. All right, thanks, everybody. Okay,
Aye.
we're recording. All right, we're gonna reconvene our work session. We had an extended,
Special meeting.
special meeting. I'm sorry. We're going to reconvene the special meeting. We just came out of work, the executive session.
All right.
It is 5:05 and we have two resolutions to read.
Number one, be it resolved that supervisors hereby authorized and directed to expend the sum of $2,625 from the 2021 A8160.484 landfill office and miscellaneous account to Creative Information Systems, 27 Lowell Street, Suite 402, Manchester, New Hampshire, 03101, for the sale of software support and maintenance for the period of January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2022. So move. That's what, Jim.
Well, for the scale software, I think you said sale of software.
All right, I'm sorry.
I'll second.
Are you sure it should be 2022 and not 2021? Because we're paying
It's
it out of
2022. It's a contract.
Okay, so it is, so out of 2021 funds into 2022.
It's supposed to be
Right.
22
Yes,
funds.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Out of the 20.
Everything came in about 5 minutes of one, remember?
Okay.
Okay, just checking.
Councilman Collin makes the motion. I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Next one.
Second resolution is number 158. Be it resolved, the supervisor here is hereby authorized and directed to expend the sum of $39,638.35 from the Highway Capital Improvements account to KS State Bank, Government Finance Department, PO Box 69, Manhattan, Kansas, 66505-6059 for the first installment of the purchase of one 2021 Mack tractor P1647T for the Highway Department. And this is a roll call vote. So you want
to make the
So moved.
Councilman Colligan
Votes aye.
motion. Supervisor Silva votes aye. Councilman Brock Williams,
Aye.
Councilman
Einfola, aye.
Councilman.
Larson, aye.
Well, if I read this, we'd really be confused. So moved. Okay, resolution was duly adopted.
Okay. I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
No.
Adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.